Tonight on RaceSpotTV and iRacingLive, the best oval sim racing drivers in the world continue into the middle of the season, still westward as we head to the 1 mile Phoenix International Raceway for the 5th race on the season. This track has never seen a repeat winner since it debuted back on the calendar in 2010, and some of those previous winners, past champions included, are still in search of their first checkered flag on the season. We go green flag racing for the 5th race of this 2017 NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series, powered by iRacing, next from Phoenix.
There are 3 different paths if you want to call yourself a world champion of sim racing. NASCAR, open wheels, or endurance racing. But no matter which one you take, you can guarantee that the journey will always be tough, which few will ever complete. The iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series, the premier road racing series in sim racing, started with a new car taking center stage. Then, it was Martin Kroenke resisting any challenge thrown at him to break the 5-year stranglehold of Gregor Hutu as being world champion. These drivers and teams are not just competing for pride, they're competing for money. And with over $20,000 in prizes for each of the series up for grabs, drivers really do put it all on the line.
The NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series, powered by iRacing, is the premier NASCAR esports series featuring the cars and tracks from the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series. The 2016 campaign saw a return to the top of the mountain by Ray Alfalla as a 3-time oval world champion. The march to that championship was not easy, though, despite the fact that Ray Alfalla took home the most points in series history. It just also happened to be the tightest championship fight we had ever seen. These guys are set for the 2017 campaign.
The Blancpain GT Series hosts the top GT3 endurance teams in sim racing, with groups of 3 or more drivers sharing the wheel. This is a championship you can't win alone, and you need the same determination, passion and drive from your teammates to be successful. They often say that it takes just one mistake to lose a championship, and in team racing, it may not be your mistake that costs you the win. Last season, VRS Coanda SimSport won the championship by a single point. This year, who will step up to the plate?
These are the iRacing eSport World Championships, the pinnacle of sim racing competition. Catch it all season long with live coverage on iRacing.com/live.
The road to $10,000 runs through the Grand Canyon State, live tonight on RaceSpotTV and iRacingLive. Happy to be along with you for the ride, where we say good evening sim racing fans and welcome to Avondale, Arizona, and from the Phoenix International Raceway for the 5th race on this, the 2017 NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series, powered by iRacing. Topside tonight, along with myself, Evan Pasoko, as always, accompanied by Cam Walsh and Tim Terry at a RaceSpotTV booth, streaming live tonight on Fans Choice TV and the Motor Racing Network. Our director, Hugo Luis, is downstairs pushing the buttons and bringing us to you tonight. Cam, from PIR, we get right back into the swing of things. A very different racetrack compared to what we have seen through to this point. Phoenix coming in at just a mile in distance, very different than every track that we've hit so far.
Yeah, and I have to say, first off, hello everybody. Second off, Phoenix. It's a track I personally never was really familiar with until I started watching this series, and it is a track I've absolutely fallen in love with. Every race we have here always seems to be something new, something adventurous, and something always so very entertaining, especially when you start dipping that dog leg out in the backstretch. It creates a really great race, and hopefully that's exactly what we're going to have tonight.
Coming off of our fourth race of the season 2 weeks ago from the Texas Motor Speedway, Tim, we had Alan Bowes park it in victory lane. 4 races, 3 different winners to this point. But Logan Clampett is the name at the top of the championship standings. After the opening 4 races, Ryan Lewson not very far behind, just 7 points to the negative. You've got Zelensky, Alfala, Bordeaux, Challenger, Richardson, and Overland. Those are the top 8 drivers on that chase grid at the moment. Now, season's still very young, but we're slowly starting to get into the thick of things here in what we would consider our regular season, now walking into round number 5.
We're getting close to the halfway point when it comes to the chase cutoff on round number 5. First 12 rounds get you into that final chase scenario. But you look at the point, Zach Novak tied with Overland for that final spot, and then you start seeing that drop off. After Cody Bias, you see Ryan Lowe, Michael Conti, Alan Bowes, Vincent Duval, and Shearburn back there as well. And then it starts to drop off just a little bit. These next 7 races are going to be the ones to decide that chase, and we're going to see those guys trickle off. We've seen it in the championship last season where guys weren't as consistent and we saw them drop out of the championship picture. I'm sure we're going to see that with the top 8. This is going to be a great race. 4 of the 6 winners from Phoenix in this field. 3 of them start in the top 10, and 1 of them starts on the outside pole. We used to call Kevin King the Cactus King every time we came to Phoenix. I think Nick Ottinger will be one to watch tonight. He was always there battling with Kevin King and the race winners. I think Nick Ottinger's the one to watch here this evening. Try to get him a little further up the standings and near that chase.
None of the race winners in the past here from Phoenix have won so far this season. None of the race winners, therefore, so far this season have won from Phoenix International Raceway, a track that has been on the calendar since way back in the inaugural year in 2010. And way back when, it was a completely different Phoenix International Raceway. We are on the newest version of it on the iRacing service, and in a couple of years down the line, Cam, I'm sure we'll be talking about a new version of the Phoenix International Raceway. But it is a very unique racetrack. A 1-mile distance racetrack is fairly large, but based on the kind of calendar that we see, this is a short track very much to us. A lot of the time, you'll see races here at Phoenix at nighttime in this series, typically a day race, which does make the track conditions much warmer and obviously a lot less grip for those guys to be able to split up amongst themselves. It'll be a little bit more slippery out there as they're wrapping up their 15-minute warm-up session before we go green.
Yeah, absolutely. Pit entry is going to be extraordinarily important as well. Cars are hitting about 160 on the backstretch. They're also hitting about 162 right before they hit corner number 1. So we'll have to see exactly how the lanes open up, how the track works, who dips all the way down to the inside going down that backstretch, and who stays up. We'll see. But I'm sure as the race develops, we'll see what happens. Last season, we had to remember, we went completely green. Just from the start to the finish, we went completely green, no cautions. We'll see if we can match that today. But with this low downforce package that we've gotten for 2017, not quite sure that's going to be in the cards.
Yeah, it is still a little bit of a learning process with this new 2017 car. I'll tell you what, though, Texas was a fantastic race, Auto Club as well, and it's going to be a learning process as we work through to down at Phoenix, into Richmond in 2 weeks' time, kind of doubling things up here for the 5th and 6th races on the calendar at some of the shorter tracks. But again, a win does not get you in to the championship. A win in the first round of the Chase will buy you a ticket to Homestead. It doesn't mean anything right now, so wins are good, but you need to get points. And as Tim was talking about, you can't start to slide down much further below 8th position, or you're really just going to run out of time to get things rocking and rolling. With that said, qualifying and now our warm-up session have drawn to a close, so let's go trackside and take a look at your RaceSpotTV starting grid for round number 5. Matt Busa going to bring us to the green flag tonight, a 26.266. Good enough to put that number 34 on pole position. He will be joined on the front row by 2012 winner here, Nick Ottinger. Ryan Luza and Ryan Lowe going to make up row number 2. They will start in 3rd and 4th position respectively. Another past winner here, Ray Alfala, will start in 5th.
Starting in the 6th position, it's going to be Bobby Zelensky on the outside. Michael J. Johnson starting in 7th. Michael Conti in 8th. Derek Bordeaux will be starting in 9th. And Dylan Duvall will be taking out the top 10.
The 11 in 11, it's Brad Davies starting 11th, Christian Chalner starting in 12th, Alan Bowes in 13th, Chris Overland in 14th, and Blake Reynolds completes your top 15.
Kenny Humpy, Marcus Richardson, PJ Sturgis, Cody Bias, and Logan Clampett through 20th.
21st is going to be Zach Novak. Chris Shearburn as the cars are rolling. Nolan Scott, 23rd. Brian Schoenberg, 24th. Josh Berry, 25th.
Brian Blackford.
Going to go across the top of your screen as we get set to go green. Let's talk about this Phoenix International Raceway, guys. Turns 1 and 2, 10 to 11 degrees. The dog leg is very important. It is technically open, but you can't use that inside lane to force your position through. So that's going to be something to talk about tonight. Turns 3 and 4, 8 to 9 degrees of banking. We do have 156 miles teed up tonight from this 1 mile Phoenix International Raceway. Therefore, it is 156 miles before we wrap things up here tonight. As always, so happy that you're with us on a Tuesday night on RaceSpotTV at iRacingLive. Pace car down and away, and Matt Busa off and away. American Ethanol green flag, and we are green for the 5th race of the season from Phoenix International Raceway. No immediate challenge for the race lead. It's Matt Busa for the first time down the back as Ryan Luza, 2-time winner so far in 2017, takes away P2 from Ottinger.
It looks like everyone is a little bit indecisive about whether or not they want to use that dog leg. That first time he was pretty much scattered all the way through the field. Matt Busa stayed high, and Michael Luza stayed low. We'll see here going into 1 for starting at lap number 2, whereabouts everyone will go for the dog leg, but it is a bit dangerous trying to merge back before corner number 3. Once again, Matt Busa stays high, Michael Luza goes low.
A lot going on in the center of the pack, maybe just around P10. You got the 42 at Dylan Duvall, funny with the 11 of Brad Davies. Davies on the inside, Alan Bowes, winner from 2 weeks ago on the inside as well, in a battle that's going to be for a belt 12 spot. In fact, how about 3 sets of 2x2x2, about 11 or so positions back in front of him, single file, but not fighting with each other. A little bit of bumper-to-bumper action, but at the moment in line. All the excitement around Duvall, not that good that time through 1 and 2. You can see Bowes really use that dip on that dog leg to his advantage. He definitely tightens it up in 3, though. A lot of action back here mid-pack.
You're going to see a lot of comers and goers, especially in the first couple laps of this race. Guys that did not hit their lap in qualifying, trying to push their way to the front. You saw Duvall going backward a little bit. We'll see if he can get 1 and 2 a little bit better this time by. He's going to get it without hitting the wall. Overland to the inside. You got the 66 of Blake Reynolds working the inside. Then you got guys like Kenny Humpy and Logan Clampett that didn't get their qualifying effort right this evening. They're working their way to the front. Humpy on the inside of the 78 of Chalner, and Logan Clampett, your point leader. Albeit it is early, he's in the middle of this pack trying to weave his way towards the front.
Nothing going on all the way up front, but a little bit of a battle for the number 3 spot. Ottinger and Alfala do battle. The 2-4 to get a look to the inside. This is up about 0.6 of a second off of the number 1 position. The Virtual Racing School Ford Fusion going to go up the inside again. It works great on the back outside. Going to be the better place to be, though, off of 4. And the 05 going to defend for the moment. And again, a couple of those little battles here and there. The 04 of Bordeaux trying to go inside on Johnson. Big slide for him off at 1 and 2, but he hangs on. And again, just because the guys in the top 10 aren't 2x2x2 as they are back in the pack doesn't mean they aren't going at it. So far, though, so good up front. Matt Busa trying to open up a small gap. Good to about half a second.
Brad Davies working on the outside of Derek Bordeaux after that attack on Michael J. Johnson didn't go out as planned. Brad Davies working the outside of corner number 1 as they're now going to be working. I'm sure Bordeaux is going to be trying to take the dog leg, whereas Davies is going to be staying up high. He does. Will they merge safely together back once again? Yes, they will. Car coming off a pit lane, I noticed, is Nicholas Johnston. Not quite sure what happened with that 90, but something certainly has, and he is now going to be classified as 5 laps down. Not quite sure what happened to the 90, but either way, everyone else sorting themselves out. Brad Davies did end up getting that position on that number 04 of Derek Bordeaux.
A couple of guys swapping out spots in the top 10 early on already. Almost 10 laps complete, though, tonight from Phoenix International Raceway. 156 laps around this joint is not a walk in the park by any means. But as we were talking about earlier, races in the past year, 1 year ago, caution-free to the point where this race may not take all that long. Things happen at a very quick pace over the course of the night. If we get a caution flag, those caution flag cycles don't last very long. The caution flag laps themselves are relatively short. It is fast-paced action in Avondale, Arizona. Now starting to see just a smidge of separation up front. Still have tightly packed 3, 4, 5, and 6 on a racetrack, but starting to see these guys find a position in line, and some of that chaos back in the pack, Tim's calmed down a little bit. A couple of fights here and there. You've got the likes of Marcus Richardson fighting with the PJ Sturgis, and that 90 machine in the mix as well, fighting with the 58. But other than that, up front at least, starting to see these guys kind of find a spot in line, look to ride for a little bit, get some laps under the belt.
Except for the 2 of Ray Alfala. Alfala has tried for the last 2 laps to set up Ottinger. He's finally made the move down the back straightaway, and he will take position number 3 across the stripe this time. And Zielinski looked at making that same move, could not set it up on Ottinger, but he'll try, I'm sure, at a corner number 2 this time. Zielinski running in position number 5, trying to set up the 05, and just behind them, the 7 of Ryan Lowe plays chase, looking to get a little piece of this battle for what is position number 3. Ottinger falling back to 4th, maybe trying to conserve a little bit here early in this one. And right behind them, Michael Conti in car number 5 after leaving Aftermath Motorsports at the start of the season. He's been doing fairly well with he and crew chief Brandon Hastings. We'll see what he can do at Phoenix. We might have a first 2-time winner at Phoenix this season, or this year, and it might come from Conti.
Yeah, the number 5 peak forward tonight already +1. Started 8th and runs in 7th. About 2.2 seconds off the top spot. Battle in front of him. Look at the 83 of Bobby Zielinski. That yellow line, merely a suggestion. When you go off to quarter 3, had those left side tires down on it, tried to squeak through, and those guys rode that whole corner about maybe 2 inches apart from each other. Good driving by both of them, and it was Ottinger on the outside who was able to go back around and hang on to that for the time being. A little bit further back, how about your championship points leader, Logan Clampett in the Racer Boost Chevrolet? He's trying to work his way on up, outside on the 04 of Bordeaux, to the inside on Dylan Duval, trying to find his way through after starting back in P20.
Yeah, Dylan Duval, he's trying to claw his way up at the very least, but it doesn't seem to be working, seeing as he's dropped 4 positions since the drop of the green flag, though not that far behind. We did see some pretty dramatic action while we were looking up to the front there. Derek Bordeaux found himself 3 wide at one point. They managed to sort themselves out very thankfully as Marcus Richardson goes on the inside of his teammate going into corner number 3, and he's actually probably going to try on Logan Clampett. No, Logan Clampett is going to get a very good jump off the outside, and he'll actually try to work on Dylan Duval. Then going into corner number 1, Logan Clampett on the inside, that number 44. Our current points leader started in 20th. He's up to 15th. Not a bad pace so far.
The battle up front and for the number 4 position, Ottinger and Zielinski were just going at it again. Zielinski once again took a look to the inside, and Ottinger easily fought that one off in the Rheem Toyota. So the 83 machine not really going to give things up. We saw Alfala kind of use that same tenacity to be able to get from 5th to 3rd in the opening laps of this race. He's about a second and change off of Matt Busa, who is now 1 second to the race lead. The driver who was the 7th best at our warm-up session did get that pole position to qualifying, and that has him out in front and in clean air. And so far looking good now through 16 laps of contest. Battle inside the top 10 now with the 21 of Alan Bowes and at 39 of Michael J. Johnson.
21 of Bowes takes a look on the inside of the 39 down into corner number 1. Bowes trying to take that spot away. Going to see if he can't get the run up off of corner number 2. The outside line going to prevail for the time being. Bo's going to go to the extreme inside. Overland a part of this battle as well. Chris Overland trying to work his way a little bit closer to the front of the field. He's one of those drivers in chase contention early in this season. Bo's trying to get that move working off of corner number 4. Can't do it. Michael Johnson will take the spot back. And we saw this earlier with Ray Alfala and Nick Ottinger. Ray had to get the run at a corner number 2 and set it up down the back straightaway. He tried a couple of times, Evan, to set it up into turn number 1. It just didn't seem like the momentum would be there. Maybe turn number 2 is the prime passing opportunity here, at least early at Phoenix.
We've seen countless times turn 4 be pretty good for the guys on the outside of the racetrack, and that dogleg really leaves that inside wide open. You can go down below that yellow line by a good 20 feet yourself, and they can still force it up the inside. So if there's one place you want to be able to fight back, it would be the outside of quarters 3 and 4, and that's where Alan Bose has been getting the opportunities to get to the inside in this battle for position, has just not been converting those into making the pass. We've seen that a couple of other times with a couple of battles inside of the top 10. So again, everybody just trying to figure things out, starting to get to that point where once we get to 20 and then 25 laps into a run, though, no longer going to be talking short term, going to be talking long term. And if these constant dives to the inside and try to make something happen or maybe hurt these guys on the long run, in a couple of laps we'll start to figure that out. But Bo's back down to P10 after having a shot at P8 not all that long ago. So trying to make a move on Johnson. Did it work? Chris Overland got the spot from him, and that blew Menard's Ford. Looking to get another spot, started 14th up to 9th, and Overland trying to take a swipe for P8.
Yeah, and another thing that we got to remember is we're watching Chris Overland side by side with Michael J. Johnson, and Alan Bose looking to possibly make it 3 wide. He might very well make it. No, he will not. Interesting thing to note, Jake Sturgis, the number 41 car, he ended up coming into pits. He got fuel and 4 tires. It was a planned pit stop, I think. We're going to start seeing some alternate strategies here because the lap times are starting to trail off as we're continuing to watch this Battle 47 slowly drifting away here. I think Alan Bose's car might be tightening up a little bit for him. That Toyota might just be getting a little tight as he pushes it to the outside. He's trying to follow Michael J. Johnson through the top side of the dogleg as Chris Overland decides to go to the inside, but we're starting to see the lap times fall off. Matt Boose's fastest lap was a 26.3 at the start of this race. He is now running 27.5s, almost 1.2 seconds a lap slower. So I think we're going to start seeing here, this has got a good run going on so far. I think we're going to start seeing other people start coming in like Jake Sturgis did for tires.
And you want to talk about, I mean, really going for a short pit. That was what we saw to Sturgis. Obviously, coming down pit road cost him a lap. He started 41st, though, so he only drops down 1 position to 42nd overall. One thing that Boost is no longer doing is gaining, and 1.1 seconds to the good is not that bad, but in fact, the last time lost about a 1/10 of a second to Ryan Luza, who, again, up to P2, made that move at a drop at a green flag around Nick Ottinger, was losing time for the first 10-15 laps, kind of held her even for the last 5, and now is starting to maybe reel Busa back in. And Matt Busa, historically, pretty good on the long runs in that 34 machine, 24 laps uncontested for the number 34 Toyota, but Ryan Luza taking a look at the lap times, kind of starting to apply the pressure a little bit. Those guys almost dead even last time, though.
If you're going to push your tires, this is probably the best time to do it on the first run of the race. As they battle up front, there's a great battle going on here, continuing to be Alan Bose on the inside, but Blake Reynolds is making his way through the field in car number 66. He's on the upside. Michael J. Johnson on the extreme upside. 66 going to have to go to the inside. Reynolds trying to make it up. Busa here, check that Bose in the middle. What a battle this has been going on, but I think the 66 car, we talk about comers and goers, long run, Blake Reynolds might have something here when we get down to the nitty-gritty of this one because he is flying through this field.
He is +5 so far to this point. Alan Bose is going to be the big winner this time around, though. He will finally get that number 8 spot away for the 39 Johnson, and almost contact behind Chris Overland. Got right up on the left rear quarter panel. That 39 Johnson didn't make contact. The belt came as close as you could, and the 47, how about a little bit of a love tap that time into the corner. He wants a way by, and he obviously was trying to do it topside because Blake Reynolds right now kind of holding down the inside of the racetrack. 47 is stuck behind this 2x2 battle in front of him.
Yeah, and if he's not careful, Kenny Humpy and Chris Challoner are ending up putting in the lap times. They're coming in ever closer with these guys. They're racing quite hard for this opening stage. We got to remember 156 laps, and we're on lap 28, and these guys are they're not racing too hard with one another, but they've been playing bumper tag every once in a while, I have to say, as Blake Reynolds looks to at least be pulling away right now from Chris Overland and Michael J. Johnson. But look again, just Chris Overland, he manages to get good speed coming off of 3 and 4. I think every last couple of laps he's managed to get a very good run in his Ford Fusion. And looking up ahead still, Alan Bowes is still working his way through as well. He started in 13th, and now he is looking possibly on the inside of Michael Conti. So this middle of the pack, Evan, is looking like the battles are still going well. And you got to start wondering perhaps when you're going to start seeing other people start to come in. I think Jake Sturgis, he is almost off of 1 lap down just on pace, I believe.
Yeah, come down, get fresher tires. You were talking about that 1.1 seconds or so that Busa had lost from the fresh tires to what he had on the race car at that moment. You come down, get tires, you give up a lot of time. In the case of Sturgis, you lose a lap by pitting so early, but you're going to be a second quicker per lap. Still, not enough to convince everybody to hop on that strategy other than him and Johnston, who we noted who was not able to make the grid after qualifying 37th and got onto the racetrack about 4 or 5 laps later. All 41 other drivers are still on the racetrack and on the lead lap. Matt Busa about to catch up to Tyler Hill and Timmy Hill, who run 41st and 40th. Final 2 cars on the lead lap, but once we get to that point, we will have to start talking about lap traffic. Matt Busa, though, up at the front of the field. All these guys inside the top 5 running right down on that yellow line as they cycle through 3 and 4. In the mid-pack, though, guys getting a little bit more creative, rubbering out that groove just a little bit, seeing a lot more guys running high a little bit further back we look in the pack as maybe they try to search for something that works with their cars. You see the 5 machine, that time Conti way up the track at 1 and 2 as he tries to hold that 47 of Overland off from the inside.
Yeah, Conti's been falling back here the last 5 laps or so. You had Alan Bowes catch him, make the pass, Blake Reynolds, and now, as you mentioned, Chris Overland, and now Kenny Humpy right behind. Here comes Conti to pit road as he will start this round of green flag pit stops, woes it down to 45 miles an hour, and Brandon Hastings and the crew, I'm sure, will make a couple of adjustments to that car. And usually Michael Conti is one of those drivers that starts out these rounds of green flag pit stops, so we'll see if it works for him this evening. But the last time we talked about it, Evan, the gap between the top 2 about 10 laps ago, it's stabilized now. It looks like Matt Busa has found something. It's stabilized to about 1.1, 1.2 seconds back to Ryan Luza. Ray Alfala about 2 seconds behind. So it's almost like we mentioned it, and Matt Busa found a little bit more at the bottom to try to dig and try to stabilize that lead between him and Ryan Luza.
And maybe we just caught him on a bad lap. You can go to RaceSpot.tv/timing to get a live look at all the telemetry. And it was about that 1.2 second gap when we were looking at Busa, and then he maybe just had 1-2 laps of a little bit slower pace, messed up here and there, and Luza was able to close that gap down to 8/9 of a second. But it's right back in that comfort zone, 1.2 seconds. Not all that bad off if you're Ryan Luza. That's definitely within striking distance. And again, depending on how quick you come down to the pit lane, will let you know how better you get those fresh tires on a race car and what you're going to do over the course of a long run. But Conti coming down, I thought would have just completely started this run, a green flag service. Really hasn't. See that number 5 Ford just tearing through everybody on a fresh Goodyear Eagles, but it has not interested the guys up front enough to follow him down the top 5. Not interested quite yet.
Looks almost like a video game of sorts where he's just ripping through everybody. Obviously, this is the highest of fidelity racing simulation, of course, but still, look at it. He's passed probably 10 cars this lap alone, and he is still rocking and rolling as he goes onto the inside of Brad Davies, who appears to have picked up a little bit of left front damage, so that'll be interesting. And perhaps his Chevrolet being a little tight as Michael Conti, he's just snipping his way through the field as there is Dylan Duval on his outside, and before we'll know it, it'll be Zach Novak. Then he's got a little bit of a gap to Josh Berry, but it's coming hard and quick as Michael Conti to try to get his lap back, looking a little bit forward. He's going to be start dealing with cars that are actively racing each other, though, and as we all know, with other races with multi-class, when you're that faster car and you've got cars racing in front of you, it becomes a whole new challenge. And obviously with these new tires, it almost is multi-class racing.
And for Conti, it's almost like he's got the AI on easy, and he's just trying to get around him. The one thing that will help him in the long run on this strategy is that he will get back to the lead lap, and well, he runs one lap down right now. He will eventually be on the other end of that spectrum, but always the cautious part about short pitting is getting stuck a lap down if a yellow were to fly, and during Saka's green flag service, you see how quickly he's been slicing and dicing through traffic. Just tends that when the closing rate's that quick, people tend to make mistakes, and that's when you get stuck a lap down and the call kind of bites you. But so far, so good. We've seen about 3 and 4 drivers, maybe total, as far as people top 20 who have actually decided to come down to the pit lane. 38 drivers scored on the lead lap, 4 off of the lead lap by 1 lap. Conti, Sturgis, Hunt, and Rattler, those names at the moment. But this 5 machine keeps tearing on through the field, going 3 wide. He's still well behind Busa, so I'm not sure he's going to unlap himself before the 34 does eventually decide to come down to the pit lane. But we saw him come down at lap 30. It's now lap 40. Busa still not coming down pit road. A 10-lap discrepancy could be pretty big if you add that up over run over the night goes on.
Couple of anxious moments there as Michael Conti went through Bordeaux and Richardson as Michael Johnson was pitting in front of them. He got through there, and now he continues to work through the traffic. But as you mentioned, Matt Busa continues to lead this thing, and it's tacked on a little bit of time back to Ryan Luza, Ray Alfala, and the rest of this field. So it seems like Busa has this thing in firm control as he comes up at a corner number 4 this time by. He stays on the racetrack and will lead lap number 41 on the racing surface. Behind him, Luza and Alfala continue to stay out on this racetrack. So as we mentioned, this is the time that these guys start looking towards pit road and looking what other drivers are doing. About mid-pack, we're starting to see those guys make their way down pit road and get some tires and fuel on their race car and into their race car as we continue to work around on lap number 42, the 34, though setting a blistering pace up in front early.
Yeah, and he's smooth at the moment. You don't lose to somebody who, in those 2 wins that he racked up earlier in the season at Las Vegas and at Auto Club Speedway, which are, to be fair, very different than the Phoenix International Raceway, no doubt, but the one has looked very dominant and some unfortunate luck at Texas. Presented an opportunity for Alan Bose to absolutely take advantage of. Did not let that opportunity falter, and he ended up going on to victory lane to get that first win on 2017. But Luza has been there all the time, and at every race has looked like one of the best cars. P2 at a racetrack, definitely one of the best cars, but he is not the best car at the moment. That's Matt Busa, and the 34 by far and large. Starting out front helps, no doubt, but he is looking good in that spot. Ray Alfala runs in 30s, lost a little bit more time as well, down 2.3 seconds. You see the 09 topside, not a battle for position. David Rattler, another one of the drivers who has come down to the pit lane and already gotten service complete. We've had about a third of the field or so begin to come down to the pit lane, just waiting for the bulk of the top 10 to flood the pit lane.
Yeah, going all the way back to the 32nd position, has not come into pits. They are 43 laps into their stint. Now, this is where we're starting to get into that numbers game that gets extraordinarily confusing and far over my head way too quickly. So we've got 32 cars, 44 laps on their current stint. Michael Conti, he pitted 12 laps ago. Jake Sturgis pitted 30 laps ago, whereas we had a whole slew of cars. Michael J. Johnson, Zach Novak, Josh Berry, Mitchell Hunt, Andrew Fayosh, etc. They all came in about 5 laps to go to 3 laps ago. So we're going to see right now that all of these different rounds of where their tires are and where they're running. And you got to start wondering just how much more fuel is left in the fuel run for Matt Busa, because that's obviously what he's aiming for after 20 minutes of running here at Phoenix. Where Matt Busa, well, Michael Conti is about to pass him and get himself unlapped. He will be the first car to do so, as here he comes. But even Michael Conti's lap times are slowing off. Matt Busa, once again, his fastest was somewhere in the 26s. He just ran a 28.5, so obviously the lap time not there, but he's got the position. He is going to keep it, and quite a gap he's built up over Ryan Michael Luza.
And you have to think, looking back at that number 5 of Michael Conti, who, by the way, has now gotten himself back onto the lead lap the old-fashioned way, just got back around Matt Busa, which I didn't think was going to happen because, in all honesty, Tim, I thought the guys up front would have pitted by now, but you look at a 156-lap race, almost at the 1/3 marker at this point, you would have to think they're going to go at least another 5 laps or so, try to cut this race into thirds and make it a 2-stop race.
That would be the strategy, I would think, with this race looking green, and it's been green so far since we dropped the flag on this one. But we always seem to have somebody try that strategy where they run the fuel out of the car and then decide to come down on the pit road short stint to the end to try to win the thing. So we'll see what happens on that side of it. We've seen it happen already earlier in the season with the way the caution flags flew at a couple of these races. So keep an eye on that strategy as well. As Cam said, we could have a race where there's 3 or 4 different strategies. We've seen the pit early from Michael Conti and a couple of the other drivers out here. Now it's a matter of when these leaders do decide to come on to pit road, and if anybody behind them in the 25 or so that haven't come down pit road yet, try to extend it and try a different strategy to try to win this thing. If you're out back and you're in the top 25 or so and you're not having a great night, you may as well try it anyway, right?
Sounds like a couple of drivers over the radio said that they are headed pit side. This time, Logan Clampett going to come in from P12. Not necessarily the cavalry, but little by little, more and more drivers from those top running positions come down pit road, and I think that this is the time to pit. If you're going to do 2 stops, you pit around lap 50, you pit around lap 100, and you're going to make it 156 laps total distance tonight, make it to the end. The guys who short pitted are not going to be able to do that on 2 stops, I don't believe, and Ryan Luza agreed with the strategy. He comes down from P2, 1.4 seconds behind Matt Busa in the battle for the race lead. Let's watch how long the 34 stays out, and if that costs him time when both of those drivers complete service as far as who will take over the race lead once we get back sorted out.
Yeah, and once again, just looking, you've got pretty much the entirety of the field, and here comes Matt Busa. Here comes the leader, the number 34 car, getting to its speeding line at 45 miles an hour. He is hovering at a busy place on pit road right now. The car is getting service. Pretty much everybody had come in now. Brian Blackford, I see on pit lane, Nolan Scott, Kyle Putz, Adam Gill, and a whole slew. Pretty much everybody that hadn't pitted is now come in, and we'll see now, of course, Phoenix, with it being such a small track, the pit lane really wraps around. He's going to park himself behind that as one of the cars cuts through a lot of pit stalls there. 2 cars cut through a lot of pit stalls. They're not sure how the NASCAR iRacing officials are going to appreciate that one, but Matt Busa obviously getting 4 tires, getting fuel. He's off and away. He goes past the green stripe. He will come out right around Bobby Zelensky and Nick Ottinger, so we'll see where he settles back into this racetrack.
And luckily he found a spot in the pack there where it wasn't too dense of traffic, because most tracks you got to wait until a certain spot on the inside of the 8 of corner 2 before you're allowed to blend back up. Here you blend just basically right into that dog leg, which is absolutely fair game. And now you'll see Busa, who pitted later than these guys at a racetrack, to make a move on PJ Sturgis. This time around, 34 was scored in 14th position. But again, the big question was, where would he be running, in reference to, as we were talking about that battle between first and second earlier on with Ryan Luza. Luza short-pitted him by 1 lap. Luza's about 2 seconds in front of him on a racetrack right now, scored 9th the last time by, compared to Busa, who was scored in 12th. That is the risk versus reward. You talk about the short pit, you don't want to get stuck a lap down, but I think that was a beautiful call, Tim, by that number 1 machine to be able to make that call and get up and around Busa. And if they can remain even on a long run now, he's working with about a second and change advantage to his benefit.
And your leader now scored is Michael Conti in car number 5, so it cycled through to that point. Brian Schoenberg stayed out, led a lap, and now he comes down onto pit road. So everything cycling out now as the 5 of Conti runs just behind Adam Gilliland in car number 8 and Kyle Putz in car number 31. And it's once the scoring comes through, he'll be about 8 seconds or so, I believe, ahead of Michael Johnson and a couple of others. Zach Novak in car number 15 scored in position number 3. So there's some changing of positions through all these different pit strategies, but right now Michael Conti so far up in front. And trying to look back here, I see Ray Alfala listed in position number 5, about 10 seconds behind Michael Conti. So we'll see how that all shakes out for guys like Alfala, Luza, that were running up front a little bit earlier. Matt Busa, it looks like he's come out behind Ryan Luza and Ray Alfala. We'll see how that transpires here as we go through these green flag laps.
Something tells me you're going to be want to be using that RaceSpotTV timing to keep an eye on all of the strategy tonight, because basically we've completed our cycle of pit service But normally at this point, things cycle back through, and our would-be race leader should be Ryan Luza. You would think Matt Booster running in second. Caution flag will fly, though, and that's going to completely change the name of the game at lap 58.
And that was Trey Edson, the number 24 Chevrolet. Looks like he looped it around. I'm not quite sure what he was doing. Did he get help? I believe he did. Chandler Kreisek, number 48 car, I think he just got too hard into corner number 1 behind Trey Edson and sent him around. Doesn't look like the car got hurt at all. He even managed to loop it around without damaging the car any further, other than a little bit of rear body work damage on the back of that Aftermath Motorsports number 24. But so Trey Edson should be able to continue. He's lost quite a couple of positions.
This is an extremely interesting caution flag because, again, we completed our cycle of service, but there's guys now up front who were going to be on a different strategy, maybe one more pit stop to go. Now, in theory, they can kind of call it quits on that strategy if they really wanted to, and everybody can make it if they decide to pit this time down. It looks like the 5 of Conti is going to dive down to the pit lane. You should be able to make it from this point after this stop on one more pit stop to the end of the night. Conti, Novak, Johnson, Berry in, and the drivers who more recently pitted: Alfala, Luza, Hunt, Vincent, Busa, and Zelensky. Top 10. Everybody coming down pit road, so that gamble by the 5 paying off.
The gamble paid off, but let's see if we do get some green flag racing here, because he fell off a little bit earlier than those guys that went about 50 laps on the tires. As Conti's team is in, they'll go to work on that car, and I'm sure they're going to make an adjustment or two on that number 5 car. Looks like 4 tires for Conti, and we'll see if he wins this race off pit road.
To go with the 4 tires, he'll peel out of the pit lane towards the end, and it'll look like it'll be relatively uncontested. Conti first in, first off. Second off for the pit lane, going to be Zach Novak. Johnson followed by 3 wide, with looks like Alfala, Humpy, and then Berry. Going to come off in that order off of the pit lane. The 58 of Kenny Humpy made up a lot of spots. That's a 2-tire call for the 58 Chevrolet. I believe he may have been the only one. Looked like everybody else wanted to go for it.
Looking right now at my timing screen, Marcus Richardson should be your leader right now, but we'll see as they cross the starter stand how everything sorts itself out. Well, we'll see just about where they are. I mean, Byron Daly is the one behind the pace car, but obviously I think we've still got some cycling to do. It is Byron Daly, Chandler Kreisek, of course, who was involved in that, Joe Letterillo and Timmy Hill, but quite a couple of those guys were laps down. I'm not sure if they're going to get the wave around or not, but either way, though, once we get this restart underway, hopefully we can continue to get these green flags rolling down. We can get back to having the strategy come into play, because I got to say, Evan, up until that point, this was turning into a really interesting race as far as at least 3 or 4 straight strategies.
Yeah, and it was going to be very hard to keep track of. So now, if you chalk it up as a win, you know, if you're somebody like a Zach Novak, who, based on the strategy call, started 21st and runs in 4th. If you're a Josh Berry, who started 25th and runs 7th. Casey Tucker, who started 30th and runs at 8th. You might be somewhat content with where you ended up. And like I said, you could just hop back onto the bandwagon, and I think about a little bit more than 3/4 of the field was rocking with, and say, okay, split this race up. Caution doesn't really come at that inopportune of a time. It comes right at about the 1/3 distance marker. So again, one pit stop under green flag conditions this point on should be able to get you to the end of the race. They could also try the short pit again. Again, some of that has to do with a little bit of luck. If you go with the short pit, caution flag comes out later, you look like a genius. If it doesn't come out, you look like you blew a good opportunity. There's a little bit of luck and a little bit of strategy involved in every single move on a racetrack. We're going to have to wait to find out. The good news is we restart inside of 100 laps to go from Phoenix International Raceway. Going to be the first restart on the night, and the number 0 Marcus Richardson going to be in control. One of the drivers who elected to not come down pit road under this, our first and only caution flag so far. Pace car off and away we go. Regreen from Phoenix, and the 01 good jump on the inside. He'll beat Gilliland to quarter 1. Here comes Michael Conti, the real big winner, powering up the inside based on his strategy, with looking for the lead.
Conti goes to the extreme inside. He'll look at Richardson on the inside, down into corner number 3. Conti trying to take the lead back behind. Look at Ray Alfalla. Alfalla coming through the pack. It's almost 3 wide as those guys tiptoe through corner number 4 up in front. Conti going to take the lead back at the stripe. Alfalla to third. Gilliland on the outside as he tries to hold off Novak, Humpy, Johnson, and the rest as Richardson falls into second with Ray Alfalla in the rear view. It's getting tight in these first couple laps.
Pretty nuts looking at those guys fan out 3, 4 wide down the back straightaway, and we've been green for so long. Taking a look at 2 car battles here and 3 car battles there. We forgot just how crazy that first restart was. Big checkup on the outside for Humpy. That'll slow down Barry. It slows down the 7-0 individual. Hunt gives an opportunity for maybe Matt Busa to do something again. He had this thing on lock up until the second pit service. He's 10th at the moment and has not had to deal with traffic at all tonight. We'll see how he handles it as he battles up the inside, trying to follow Ryan Luza to the back. Luza working on the 39 machine of Johnson for about 6th.
Yeah, somewhere in the ballpark of 89 to go, so we've got 90 to go, really. So he's got time to work his way through it if it does play out like that. But for Michael Conti, he is gone and away. Ray Alfalla, Marcus Richardson, and Zach Novak are spreading themselves out and about. You've got pretty much that pack of 3, and then you've got the rest of the entire field that is just about to go 3 wide. They are for just a second, and there they continue to go 3 wide. They're going to go up the front stretch, up 3 wide, heading into corner number 1, and Matt Busa almost looks like he wants to make it 4 wide. That is not what is going to happen. Almost go door to door with Gilliland and Johnson, but they will not as they go to 2 by 2, and the rest of the field is hopefully looking to catch them way up. They spread apart like a bunch of airplanes at an air show, and then they just close right on back before they get into corner number 3. It's a sight I'll never get old of, but Kenny Humpy, either way, he's working his way to the front of this pack, trying to hunt down Ryan Michael Luza for 5th.
Now that that 34 saw an opportunity to force it 3 wide, he tried to make it work. He was kind enough to not force the 4 wide, but Busa definitely trying to find a way by the stalemate between the 39 and the 58 to the inside on the dogleg. He will get there. 58 of Humpy going to surrender that position as Busa looks to jump back up to P6. The longer this takes, though, the further out in front race leader Michael Conti will get. Ray Alfalla, since took over the number 2 spot, just got passed up by Zach Novak, who started 21st, but the Infinite Creative Solutions Toyota is now P2 for the first time tonight. Alfalla behind 3rd, Richardson Luza top 5.
And Johnson continues to hold on to that spot, but now it's Kenny Humpy taking a look underneath the 39. Humpy will try to take position number 5 away. 34 car also working up here as well. What a battle back here for what is actually position number 6, the 34 of Matt Busa. We saw him work the inside a couple of times, Evan, just couldn't get it to work, and once he fell back, Humpy made the opportunity, worked to the inside, and so far it has worked for that position, but now the question is, can he pull away from this battle between Johnson, Busa, Josh Berry making a battle of this one, and Ryan Lowe, a part of this pack as they go side by side with Busa and the 39 of Michael Johnson. Johnson gets the run off 4. He'll take the spot for the time being, but the 34 continues to work the inside.
Battle still going on for about that 8th on back. Boost is still there. He's got Johnson, Barry, Lowe, Bordeaux, Hunt, Ottinger. Really the first couple of drivers immediately in and around this one. We still run, by the way, with 41 drivers scored on the lead lap. And in fact, no drivers have headed behind the wall so far tonight. Only Rattler 1 lap down in 42nd, and Johnson, who is still 5 laps down in 43rd, are scored off of the lead lap at lap number 73. As we close in on the halfway point, Michael Conti trying to stretch the legs out and ride some laps up front, and that peak 4 diffusion looking pretty good at the moment, trying to open up a little bit of a gap, stuck at about 0.5 of a second in the positive. Battle about to be on, though, for 3rd. Here comes Ryan Luza in a battle for what's going to actually be 4th spot. That's Marcus Richardson, who's got it right now. Luza pinches him outside. He'll dive down to the inside, looking to get him clear by 3 and 4.
And as they roll into 3, it almost looks like Kenny Humpy wants a piece of the action on the inside line, so he's going to sneak onto the inside of the 01 of Marcus Richardson. Richardson, who had started up front, but he has just slowly slid on back to 4th, what will be 5th, what hopefully, if Matt Busa, if you're asking Matt Busa, will be 6th, because he is also looking to be on the charge and pushing his way up. Only a couple of cars coming into the dogleg as Humpy is still working the inside. I have to say, Matt Busa, he really hasn't slipped down to the inside of the dogleg. He has been very, very careful to keep himself towards that yellow line when he's going on the backstretch. That's important. Perhaps that is what the team is focused to hit that setup to run with. But a little bit of contact I see behind with Derek Bordeaux and Ryan Lowe. The 7 cars, they work their way into 1 and 2, and out of 1 and 2 they come. But I gotta say, things are starting to pack themselves up. Matt Busa, don't know where he is going to be getting the speed from, but he's now going to try the outside on Marcus Richardson.
Yeah, if the inside ain't working, go topside. Owadabishi being able to hold him off a couple of times using that lane 34. Going to take her for a spin himself. Outside in 1 and 2, and he will squeeze by and get the spot. So good call by Matt Busa. Your at-once race leader, who still to this point has led the most laps at a video, though that'll be under fire by Michael Conti. The longer that number 5 keeps her up in front as this run continues to work on it. But Busa able to get up to P6. In doing so, though, to gain those 4 positions off of the restart, he's now fallen to 3.4 seconds off of the top spot. So you can pass cars in traffic, that's good news, but if it takes that long, you put yourself in a big hole.
Out in front continues to be Michael Conti, leading by about a half second, but Zach Novak continues to inch away and try to get that lead position away from Michael Conti. The gap continues to shrink a little bit this time by. It's about a half tenth. It's now 4.5 tenths between himself and Michael Conti. Novak sits on the bubble right now, tied for 8th in the championship. That's the cutoff point for the chase coming up at the end of this season. So if Zach Novak can get a good run here off the pit strategy that we got on that first caution flag of the evening, that might be key to sending Zach Novak, when we total all those points, into the chase. And it's about a half second back to Ray Alfala, so he's got a little bit of a cushion as he tries to focus in and tries to get up to the leader of this race, Michael Conti, as we work lap number 80.
As we cross the halfway point in tonight's race, let's take a look at our iRacing, a midway race break brought to you by iRacing, the leading online racing simulation developed from the beginning as a centralized racing and competition service. iRacing organizes, hosts, and officiates races on virtual tracks all around the world. And in the fast-paced world of esports, iRacing is your one-stop shop for online racing with officially sanctioned action from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, World of Outlaws, and many more. Michael Conti started 8th. He's your leader to the 2.5 second over Zach Novak, who started back on row number 11 as we work lap number 81. Ray Alfala having a solid season so far, looking for a win though, and at a place that he has won here not all too recently ago, back in 2015, running 3rd. Just behind him, we've got Ryan Lewis, a 2-time winner so far in the number 4 spot. Kenny Humpy wanting to challenge him for 5th, and in P6, our pole sitter Matt Busa got caught out on a short pit strategy and a caution flag, running about 3.5 seconds, a little bit deeper. Marcus Richardson started 17th. He runs in 7th at the moment, doing battle with Ryan Lowe and Derek Bordeaux, who run in 8th and 9th respectively as well, and Michael J. Johnson just behind them rounds out our top 10.
And normally, whenever we get to the top 10, these positions are changing so very much, it's difficult to do it, but hopefully they can stay single file just long enough. Michael J. Johnson, he's the one obviously in 10th. Mitchell Hunt, though, he's trying to stay behind. Nick Ottinger and Bobby Zelensky, they're making it a little difficult for me as that 83 pulls to the inside. But either way, they've pretty much been hanging around the middle of the pack almost all day. Mitchell Hunt, what a story he's had. He started 29th, he's up to 11th. Once you get past Hunt, Ottinger, and Zelensky, you go back to Chris Overland in 14th position, and he's almost looking to make it 3 wide. Chris Overland. He's been pretty much in the battles today, but overall, you started in 14th as he gives Ottinger a bump. Hello. He started in 14th. Well, he's currently in 14th as they're going to go door banging. Josh Berry, though, he's in 15th. Alan Bowes also working his way through. Jake Sturgis, well, did he get saved or not by that caution? He started 41st, was the first one to come into the pits, and now he is in safely in 17th on good tires. Logan Clampett, he is back in 18th position. Corey Vincent in 19th, and Brian Blackford rounds out your lap 20, 8 seconds behind your leaders.
And I'm going to tell you, Blackford made that move 2 laps ago on Chris Shearburn. He was all over the back bumper of the 35, tried high, tried low to take that spot. He gets in 20th, and he begins to pull away from Shearburn. And now Shearburn under fire by Christian Chalner, who runs in position number 22. Cody Bias right behind them in 23rd. PJ Sturgis up to 24th. Nolan Scott in 25th. Casey Tucker runs 26th. Dylan Duval back in position number 27 after starting 10th. We got a little battle on our hands between a couple of veterans of this series. It's Brad Davies and Andrew Fayash III. Fayash to the outside trying to take it away. And there's Blake Reynolds in position number 30. Guys, he was running in the top 10 earlier, and now he's trying to fight his way with this battle between Davies and Fayash. He's got a front row seat in position number 30.
This far down the lineup, you're talking 12+ seconds, but the 31 of Kyle Putz is trying to get back to P31. That was just taken away from him by the 3 of Brandon Schmidt, so Putz the last time by was 32nd. That battle continues on. Philip Diaz runs 33rd, Adam Gilliland 34th, and Brian Schoenberg in the number 35 spot. A lot of these guys started deep in the pack and are stuck deep in the pack. Joe Letterello, 36th, Chandler Krizik, 37th, Byron Daly in 38th, final 3 drivers on the lead lap. 39th, Trey Edson, Timmy Hill 40th, and Tyler Hill 41st. And of course, as we noted, David Rattler 1 lap down, 42nd, and Nicholas Johnson 6 laps down now in 43rd as he brings that machine down to the pit lane. But still to this point, no drivers have gone behind the wall. That's a look at your iRacing midway race break so far to this point. For more information on the wide variety of sim racing possibilities online, you can visit iRacing.com and sign up today. And for a limited time, go to iRacing.com/World of Outlaws and take advantage of some exclusive promo codes. You can get yourself up and running on iRacing with a 1-year membership right now for less than half price, or if you just want to give iRacing a try, you can get a 3-month membership for less than $5. Again, that's iRacing.com/World of Outlaws for a limited time only. As we have crossed the halfway point to move into the next portion of this race, this portion of tonight's broadcast is going to be brought to you by Herculiner Truck Bedliners, the official bedliner of NASCAR. And just that quickly, guys, we take a look top to bottom at the field. Michael Conti has quadrupled what was a 4/10 of a second gap or so, now nearly 2 seconds to the clear over Novak, who has gotten back up to P2 around Ralph Allen.
Yeah, and I gotta say, he came in he came in very early, honestly, and he was saved by that caution, and now it looks like he's pretty much got everything seeming to fold his way. He's got a bigger gap than Matt Busa had over Ryan Michaeluza did before when they were doing their run. So for Michael Conti in that number 5 Ford Fusion, he is having a very good day today, at least with how that strategy has fallen for him. Zach Novak and Ray Alfala, I mean, they're having fairly good days as well. We got to remember, Zach Novak started in 21st position. Meanwhile, they're starting to kick off a fight for 4th position as Kenny Humpy is still trying to pressure Ryan Michaeluza going into 1. He's getting closer and closer and nipping every single time into 1, but I don't think Kenny Humpy has the speed to end up coming on by Ryan Michaeluza coming off of 3 and 4, which obviously presumes the challenge.
And now we wait to see when do these guys come back down pit lane for what could be the last time. We kind of thought we had the strategy figured out. A couple of guys going for the short pit, hoping to get a yellow, and most everybody else deciding to go the 2-stop route. Well, that caution flag opened up the door for everybody to go for 1 stop from that point on to the end. And for guys like Novak, who made that call, and Conti, they haven't short pitted on this run, Tim, like they did on that first run. So that tells me they're just going to go 1 stop to the end. And that window opens up almost any minute now. We're at lap number 94. Once you get to lap number 100 and maybe 102, 103, you're going to be easily able to make it to lap 156 total distance. Now, how much leeway is there? Can you only go 50 laps? Can you go maybe 55? Does that a little bit of a 5-lap difference mean that we'll see somebody come down and short pit? The short pit worked really well for Ryan Luza. He was behind Matt Busa before the cycle to pit service. He now runs in front of him by 2 spots on the racetrack.
Well, easy math would say we went green around lap 60 with about 100 laps or so to go, give or take a couple laps. You'd think around 105, 110 you might start to see them come down. I don't think Conti can really come down pit road and use that earlier strategy, nor can Novak. Speaking of Novak, he lost position number 2 to Ray Alfala. Alfala now trying to pick up a little bit of time on Conti before these drivers do decide to come down pit road. And now that Ray Alfala has passed Zach Novak, we have a little battle on our hands as Luza, Humpy, and even Matt Busa part of that little battle for second on back, but it's all behind Michael Conti. And if he tried maybe something on the first run of the race and short pitted and came down pit road, maybe he learned something. Maybe they made an adjustment to that race car, because he is now 3.1 seconds up on Ray Alfala and the rest of the field. Considering on that first run, Evan, he fell off after about 30 laps and put that thing down on the pit road.
And it's all just in the strategy and the cards and the luck of the draw, if you will, just kind of how these things shake out. But Zach Novak in that 15, who has looked so good for a car who was 21st best in qualifying, and again, not a terrible car, only 11th in the warm-up session, but I mean, really took to it up front. Now I think that these guys starting to catch up with him. Lose on the outside, going to get that spot, and it looked like Kenny Humpy wanted to kind of catch the 15 off guard, slipped to the inside. It did not work, and at Simcraft, Chevrolet looking at the outside of the racetrack, it looks like he'll be able to get him as well. And on the very long extreme ends of this green flag stretch, just laps away from coming back down to the pit lane, the 15 may need to seek refuge sooner than later. 2 spots down in the last 2 laps.
Yeah, you got to start wondering just how long are they going to wait? I mean, Michael Conti, for whatever it's worth here, I know he came in early for tires, but it seems that his setup is absolutely dialed in for the long run or something to that effect, because he's pulled out in probably the last 4 to 5 laps a 4-second lead over the entire rest of that pack, obviously minus Ray Alfala, who's in front of that pack, but it's impressive how Michael Conti's been able to pull away while these guys are fighting, whereas earlier the Matt Busa and Ryan Michaeluza were not able to really pull away, as cars are now climbing way up the track. I think Zach Novak's Toyota very, very tight as they're working their way through. Looking a little further back, you can see a lot of 2-wide action going for position 8 on back. Ryan Lowe, Zelensky, Richardson, Ottinger, Overland. Overland, he's been one that's interesting to watch. He gives Ottinger yet another bump. It seems that every time I'm watching Overland, he is all over the rear of that 05, so you got to give Nick Ottinger credit. He has stayed ahead and around Chris Overland's Ford Fusion, and he is staring the bull right in the eye, because he is managing to stay in front of that Ford no matter how many times he gets bumped in the rear.
Yeah, and there's fun battles like that all over the racetrack, a little bit further back with Hunt and Clampett and, you know, so on and so forth. But battle continues up front for second, and it was getting a little bit physical. Ray Alfala, Ryan Luza got together just a little bit. Maybe we're able to keep it off each other, but about as close as you could do. And what happened is checked up the one of Luza, Kenny Humpy into the picture. There's that 58. Continuing to look to the inside of the racetrack. It is a 3-way fight for second, third, and fourth. And Matt Busa, if he can get these guys to check up just a little bit, can be right there on top of the situation as well. But what this fighting has done has now gifted Michael Conti a 4-second lead, the biggest race lead we've seen so far tonight.
And they're giving each other enough room, Evan, but not enough room to make a pass. Here comes the 2 of Alfala down onto pit road. This is lap 103, or the completion of. So Alfala will be the first within the top 5 to make that move south down onto pit road. And it looks like they continue to fight for position number 2. It's Luza and Humpy. We expect them to come in momentarily. But man, oh man, they were getting dicey for that spot. It's like they were racing with 5 laps to go instead of 5 laps until a pit stop. Expect Ryan Luza, I believe, down onto pit road this time by, and he will indeed pull the 1 down onto pit road from position number 2. Conti remains on the racetrack on lap 105.
I have to say, I like the call by that two-way Alfala. It worked very well for Ryan Lewis on that first cycle. The one machine came right down pit road. Surprised, though, that Humpy and Busa didn't pit the last time around. We'll see what Michael Conti does from P1, and he will do it. I don't think getting short-pitted by a lap or two is going to erase 5 seconds, but he really couldn't afford to stay out much longer. Here comes Humpy from second. Busa from third. Zach Novak decides not to pit, and he'll stay out and go to the race lead. Clampett get to assume P2, but the top 3 before this began a couple laps ago are now all down pit road, right when I thought it would come, about 50 laps to go.
And we'll see right now just where people start sliding out. We're gonna get that turbo speed sort of phenomenon going on, where cars are going to be having brand new tires passing cars that have got 50-lap-old tires, and that could possibly cause issues. All we need is a caution, as Matt Busa is getting his tires changed, and he's actually a bit slower than Michael Conti. Conti is off and away long before Matt Busa. Now, obviously, they had that gap beforehand, but even then, slower still is Matt Busa. But you got to wonder, perhaps one of these cars over-speeding going into one of these corners is going to have a lot more grip, a lot more tire, and he's probably going to rear-end somebody at some point, one of these drivers, and they put them into the wall. They throw a caution out, especially when a lot of this field is one lap down. We're going to be having issues, so hopefully we can avoid that, as Logan Clampett, currently your leader, he is staying out. 52 minutes ran, 108 laps ran already, 48 to go.
We have seen the pit early and hope for a yellow work. Maybe the stay out for a long time and hope for a yellow will work as well, because when that caution came out, basically 3-4 laps, you can call it, almost immediately after we had completed that first cycle of green flag service, even those who had just pitted within 5 laps still wanted to come down and get tires. So if we were to get a caution flag now and Clampett would obviously pit, I'm pretty sure everybody else would come down pit road with him as well, and it would work. But, you know, typically this is the kind of move you would expect to see somebody who's running maybe 15th and 20th on a racetrack. Clampett was running 14th, which is not terrible. For the 14, your championship leader, obviously not all that satisfied with that. It's a pretty big gamble, though, if this doesn't work out in the long run, especially when we mentioned that, you know, in NASCAR, you make the gamble for a win and lock yourself into the championship. We're points racing until the chase starts. Then we can start to talk about those very interesting situations where do you gamble the points to go for the win, to get yourself locked into the final round. None of that matters in a regular season. You need points. Logan Clampett wasn't happy with 14th. He stayed out an extra 6 or 7 laps, but now over the radio says he'll come down pit road.
Yeah, he's going to head down pit road to the attention of his crew, but on the other side of it, he has nearly 50 points between himself and that gap back in position number 8 when it comes to the chase. And speaking about that gap, Dylan Duval sits in 15th in the point standings. He will lead a lap here, but this is where it gets tense. This is where you're running on pins and needles. We saw Kenny Humpy come off the pit road and almost get into Logan Clampett as he merged on the back straightaway down into corner number 3. If one small mistake happens, we saw it with the first caution flag of the evening, one small mistake going into a corner, and that could bring out the caution flag, and it changes the complete complexion of this race and gives some guys some strategy for staying out. But Dylan Duval in car number 42 remains your leader. It looks like Corey Vincent will slot into second, and then behind Vincent there's a gaggle of cars. The Schmidt, we have Rattler, we have Hill, and we have the 48 car. They're all trying to get around the 10 of Corey Vincent and trying to fight themselves for position.
Yeah, and it's 2x2 right now. There's the fast lane on the left and the slow lane on the right, like the interstate, with the 48 and the 4 and the 16. Everybody trying to get by. All those drivers not battling Corey Vincent and Brandon Schmidt for position. Vincent and Schmidt right now 2 seconds and change behind Dylan Duval. The 42 is your race leader. Before this cycle of green flag pit stops began, back at about lap number 100, he was down in 27th spot. That's more so the range of where you'd be running in the pack, where I would expect the strategy call to come from, and caution flag is out, playing right into Dylan Duval's strategy.
and that is the number 8 of Adam Gilliland. He's trying to find his place to turn around on the front stretch. I honestly don't think anybody's touched him, and that was from careful maneuvering of his car. And I see that it was perhaps a 71 of Mitchell Hunt ended up getting into his rear, coming off of the exit of 4. Replay on our screens right now, courtesy of Hugo Louis, of course, the ever-watchful eye in the sky. But Adam Gilliland, he managed to hold the car around. He got it straightened out and then stopped it. He got right on those brakes, and that's exactly what you want to do. He made a couple of moves when he saw 2 wide car traffic coming. So very good maneuvering from Adam Gilliland to get that car safely in the middle of the lane. No other further incident. This is the second time we've had a caution for what's essentially a bump and spin, and thankfully nobody's been getting damaged. We'll see now who comes into the pits, and it almost looks like just about everybody.
This is exactly what we did expect, is all the drivers are going to get down pit road, and on the first run it was those who short pitted who got the strategy benefit. This time it is those who did not pit. You got to think, if you're Logan Clampett, you were hoping just hold it out 3 more laps, you would have had it, but it'll work out for a relatively beat up 42 with Dylan Duval, who brings everybody down as your race leader. 4 tires, no doubt, going to go on the 42. Those who pitted more recently may decide to go with just 2 tires, but this could be the final trip down to the pit lane. I would expect 4 for everybody. Duval first off of pit road. Alfala going to come off of pit road second. Vincent third. Zelensky fourth, and Novak in fifth.
The 01 car, Marcus Richardson, I believe may have taken 2 tires on that one. It looks like everybody else is taking 4 for the most part, but it works out for Dylan Duval, at least at this point. Works out for Brandon Schmidt, at least at this point. Brian Schoenberg, a couple of those drivers stayed near the front of the field, and we'll see if they can pay it off to a decent finish here at Phoenix. They were running around that mid-pack, around 20th place. Some of them that did have the opportunity to stay out. See what transpires here. It looks like Chris Overland in car number 47 may have stayed out on the racetrack. He is scored as your leader.
I think on that last caution we saw 2 drivers stay out and remain up at the front of the field. It wouldn't be unthinkable for Overland to decide to stay out. Also, talking about those drivers that decided to go with the 2-tire call, Ray Alfala, Bobby Zelensky, got Zach Novak, Richardson, PJ Sturgis, and Shearburn, just to name a few of the guys who go with the 2 tires. So now we can basically ignore how fun the strategy has been to this point tonight, Cam. The strategy is why people are running where they are running. The strategy is why Dylan Duval is running in 4th. I was talking about the hypothetical of what would it look like if this 42 can pull it off right as that yellow came out for him, and did play into his wheelhouse, but really now none of that matters. I'm not all that optimistic. We're going to see 40 laps of uninterrupted action. Cautions love to breed cautions late in these races. You've got a bunch of guys who've been fighting pretty hard for 3rd and 4th and 5th tonight, who just took 2 tires and are going to be going up after some cars that they've been running in front of all night long. Your top 4 right now started 14th, 34th, 20th, and 10th respectively. You've got big movers like Corey Vincent and Zach Novak in the mix. The lights go out on top of the pace car. I'd buckle up for this one.
Yeah, this is going to be ever-frightening. Chris Overland, Andrew Fash, and Logan Clampett have basically stayed out. Chris Overland, he's got 14-lap-old tires on it, so we'll see, Evan, as we get this restart underway, exactly how they're going to do. I have a feeling they're going to get swarmed, and that's going to cause problems.
We are going to find out just what Chris Overland, Andrew Fayash, and Logan Clampett have for these guys. The top 3 stayed out. You've got Dylan Duval in 4th on 4 tires, and a whole mess of guys who have been up front all night long decided to go with just 2 Goodyear Eagles. Chris Overland going to take off underneath the flag stand. Green flag flies are back underway. Everybody's stacking it up, but the inside behind Clampett. Don't be surprised how much they fan out to the dog leg.
Look at that outside line work for Fayash. He'll take 2nd for the time being. Clampett trying to take it away from him behind. Alfala, Duval side by side. Zelensky in this mess as well. But look at the 77 on the outside trying to take it away from Chris Overland. He's got a spot outside. They'll drag race down to the line. Overland will lead this one. But on the outside, Andrew Fayash had a run down into corner number 1. Can he hold it out at 2?
The 77's definitely gotten a little bit of a better car than maybe the 42. Contact that top of the 2. Caution, flag will fly. Problems behind coming out of the corner. Looks like heavy damage. And a couple of drivers slow on the inside of the racetrack, trying to get a number on who all that smoke's coming from. But a couple of drivers beat up. Looks like Cody Bias on the receiving end of that one.
Yeah, a couple of cars involved. Chris Schierber in the 35, Cody Bias, he was up on his side at one point. Brandon Schmidt, Nick Ottinger, Brian Blackford, the 66 of Blake Reynolds was also involved. Jake Sturgis involved, and I believe, I almost thought for a second that the silver car of Michael J. Johnson was involved, but he actually managed to skirt that out on the top side. Now, a couple of these cars have only skimmed light damage out, but some have gotten serious, significant damage. That involves, as we said, Cody Bias and Nick Ottinger. This basically all started, I believe, when the Brandon Schmidt piloted car made door-to-door contact with Doric Bordeaux, and it was high up enough out of the racing line that it lost the rears, and once it came across, it came right across to the inside. They tried to stop. They actually had a pretty good run, attempt at getting the thing stopped, but they were 3 wide, all door-to-door together. Once they started wrecking, there was nothing stopping that.
And that's just part of having races where you've got these guys doubled up, nearly 16, 17 rows on back deep of traffic where, you know, everybody has enough fuel to make it to the end. Everybody thinks that because they've got fresh tires, they're going to outdo everybody else, and the restarts are the places and, you know, the time to get the job done with it, and it just doesn't work. We saw 4 or 5 wide at points, middle of the pack, down that dog leg right off for the restart, and 3 wide, there's definitely space for it if you really wanted to, down in 1 and 2. The problem is there's not that much of the racetrack that you want to ride in, and you've just got 3 drivers fighting for what on a good day is 2 cars worth of real estate. Contact happens, and when it's in the middle of the pack, we don't get as fortunate as we have been on the 2 yellows previous to this, where the contact comes when the field is nice and spread out and it doesn't lead to any further accidents. That's really the first little bit of big damage and contact that we've seen, an incident of those sorts so far to this point tonight. So we hit the reset button and we get set to do the dance once again. 121 laps now going to be complete as we get the 2 to go for the restart. Nothing really changed up front. However, Fayash was side by side with Chris Overland, didn't clear him, but had a nose on him when the caution flag came out, so they will swap out the front row. Fayash to the inside and Overland to the top.
So we're going to have around a 33-lap dash when we go back to green, and I think back to the start of the race where you have a start where a couple of guys might have missed their qualifying lap. You got some guys up front that are going to be quick, and there's guys on different agendas at the end of the day. You got those mid-pack guys that think they're quick, that didn't hit their qualifying lap coming to the front of the field. You got guys that are going backwards, and I think we're going to have about the same deal here. You have Ryan Luza, for example, sitting in position number 12. You have Matt Busa, who was quick at the start of the race, started on the pole. He's back position number 6. Michael J. Johnson was quick earlier. List goes on and on of guys in the middle of the pack that are on different strategies that are going to have to push their way towards the front of the field. Michael Conti sits in position number 8. But you look up front, you have Andrew Fayash and Chris Overland up at the front of the field. Fayash, correct me if I'm wrong, is looking for his first win in the series. I know he's won a pro race. I think he's looking for his first win in this NASCAR Peak Antifreeze series, so that would be big for Andrew Fayash. Then you got a guy like Bobby Zielinski, who's been back and forth all race long. He's up in the top 5. He's had a good opening stint to this season, first 4 races. Could he be a winner here before we're all said and done? There's a lot to accomplish here in 33 laps, and I think the scenery is going to look a little bit when we throw the checkered flag on 156.
We'll say it just to say it, but it could be the last restart on the night. It's probably not going to happen, but we will find out. It is going to be Fayash at Overland, row 1, Clampett Alfala back on row 2, Duvall and Zielinski on row 3, Novak and Conti on row 4, and Vincent and Schoenberg on row 5. That's just the top 10 of the 37 cars still scored on the lead lap. So the 47 took off at a 77. Fayash will pay the favor back. Green flag flies, and a good jump on the inside. Clamp Nation going to make a move to P2 up the inside, and he will get it from Overland into the corner. 47 fights back, can't hold it, and caution behind.
Looking right now, I see Kenny Humpy is stopped and around, and I wonder, is that all it is? As I'm just looking, it appears that that is exactly what it is. Kenny Humpy has lost the rears. I'm not even sure. I don't even think he had help. Maybe a little bit of a push from Doric Bordeaux. At the very least, Bordeaux was in the spot that Kenny Humpy would have liked to have parked his car. Good maneuvering once again from the field. I know we've had that one big junk that last time, but everyone managing to drive around these cars that seem to be stopped backwards on the track. So good running from them. Kenny Humpy, though, he was having a good run going, a good race going even. Now he's all the way at the back of the field, and, well, we're going to rack them all up once again. We're just going to put more laps on these tires, I have to say. Andrew Fayesh, well, now he's got 16 laps. Logan Clampett, he's got 14 laps. Chris Overland, he's got 22 laps on his tires. Everyone else that came in and got tires that last big junk, they only have 10 laps on it. So we're going to re-rack them, restack them, and just see what happens.
You almost think, though, with these yellows coming out and on the last two, a one-lap run, and then this time around, not even that, get it off to corners 1 and 2 before the caution flag comes out, Tim, that would actually work to the benefit of Fayesh and Clampett at Overland up front, the guys who decided not to come down to the pit lane, because you're not really tearing up those tires under the caution flag, and every 5 laps you run under yellows, 5 laps you're not burning up those tires trying to hold somebody off.
It's the best thing for those guys to get these quick cautions and stay out front. And yes, we've seen races in this series that have played out this way, and we've seen some guys that have played that strategy and come home in victory lane. But it's just the way it works. It's the way the racing game falls. You might see cautions at the end, you might not. We might see this race go green when we take the green flag for the duration of this 156 laps of this race. We're going to have about 20-ish, 20 and change to go when we see the green flag again. Andrew Fayesh, I'm sure, is going to try to hit every restart. These are the restarts of his career right now, and he's a veteran of this series. He's been in and out of this series. He's had to run the Pro Series a couple of times to get back into the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series, but this would be a game changer in the career of Andrew Fayesh if he can win this thing. But you got Logan Clampett back there, your point leader, looking for his first win on the year. He's been so darn consistent. And remember, Ryan Luza started off this season so hot. He's sitting back in position number 11. The way this race is turning out, or at least the last couple of cautions, Evan, not working out very well for Ryan Luza. Number 1, he gets short runs. And number 2, it's in the middle of the hornet's nest.
Yeah, right around P11, that's right about where both of the incidents have stemmed from since we've gotten 2 cautions off of these short restarts. Being in the middle of the pack is never fun. It's slow on the restarts. You might be quicker than the guys, but it takes time to pass them, and it just slows you down. But especially in these late race situations where everybody is kind of got, I mean, the strategy, again, doesn't mean anything at this point. Strategy may have gotten you, if you're Andrew Fayesh, from 34th to 1st. Strategy doesn't mean anything from this point on. You're going to have to drive the car to win it. So everybody's going to get a little bit brave, if that's the right word, and things are going to get a little bit crazy, maybe a lot of bit, depending on just how many late race restarts we have as this thing continues to wind down. And being in the middle of the pack is the absolute worst place to be when it becomes this time of the race. So we will see how they handle it once more as we look for a restart now inside of 30 laps to go from Phoenix International Raceway. And as we close in on the end of this one, this final portion of tonight's broadcast will be brought to you by Blue Def, the official diesel exhaust fluid and DEF equipment of NASCAR. Changes on the front row. Logan Clampett went 3rd to 2nd. We'll see if that 47 of Overland can repay him. He gets an opportunity to take a shot at it from the inside of row number 2. Pace car get it all down to the way the last time. Andrew Fayesh wasted absolutely no time getting back to the gas. He'll hold him back a little bit longer this time at a 4. Right foot down, green flag flies, but a good restart for both Clampett and Overland behind him.
Yeah, nowhere for Fayesh to maneuver, so he's had to stay to the inside. He ends up getting a good run off the exit of 2, so he's going to take the high side to the middle of the dogleg and then back up to the high side going into 3 and 4, trying to use as much track as he can while he can, because everybody else is still 2 by 2. I see 3 wide action between Derek Bordeaux, Marcus Richardson, and our runner in the front, Matt Busa. He was, of course, leading pretty much the majority of that first stint. They're still running 3 wide back there, so everybody minus Fayesh are running 2 by 2 by 2. Hopefully they can continue to do that. I'm sure Fayesh will want that because that allows him to pull further away on those older tires. But here comes Bobby Zaletsky. He's trying to push through.
I think we can see these guys go 2 by 2. The issues on the restarts with the 3 by 3 and the 4 by 4. So maybe going to get a couple of laps under green. What does that mean for Andrew Fayesh, who out of anybody inside of the top 5 doesn't have the most impressive numbers. 32nd in the warm-up, 34th on the grid, but he's in a spot and with clean air that if he can push that car just 25 more laps, he can get the job done. Clamp it all over him, though. Zelensky, single file, the top three. It's a lot more fun for 4th on the back, but no fun for the 47. Overland gonna lose not 1, but 2 spots that lap as Alfala and Novak get around him.
Zelensky has been getting a great launch down into these corners, and in turn he's been getting a great fight off of corner 2 and corner 4, and he might be the fastest of these 3 that are up in front. Fayash continues to occupy that track position up in front, but look at Zelensky down there into corner number 3. Great launch down. He is one of these faster cars. This might be a spot that we see this 83 car get into victory lane. Logan Clampett, though, great run off 4. He sucks right up to the back bumper of Andrew Fayash III as we work around 1 and 2 on lap 133. Clampett is on the hunt.
I mentioned that Ryan Luza loses a couple more spots off for the restart. Look at this battle around 13th position. 3-1 in the dog leg as they try to figure something out. I mentioned Luza, though, because he's the one who obviously took home that NASCAR iRacing Pro Series championship in front of Bobby Zelensky, much overshadowing what was a great campaign for that 83 of Bobby Zelensky. We started this season with those first 3 weeks being only rookies to get wins. Bordeaux and then Luza doubling things up. Only one driver who's not a rookie has got a win so far this year. It was Alan Bowes 2 weeks ago. Bobby Zelensky would like to be another first-time winner in his first season of competition. He is right on the doorstep. It's going to be a 3-way fight for the race lead. 22 laps to go. Clampett looks to the inside. He doesn't go for it, though, and Zelensky looks bottom.
Good running since we've gotten under green, got a couple of laps underway, and hopefully everybody's settled down as here comes Logan Clampett. He's going to put the nose of his Chevrolet SS onto the inside. The 44 trying to pull alongside on the exit of 4. He might have the opportunity as they're hitting about 150, 160 miles an hour right before they let off and get under into corner number 1 and 2. I see Ray Alfala and Zach Novak also arriving on the scene with Michael Conti. So this party is just about to get that much bigger, as I think these the older tires are starting to at least be noticeable here. As of course Bobby Zelensky, he's your front runner who had actually taken tires, and he only had taken 2. So he's got 2 tires that are 22 laps old. Everyone else running about 30 lap old tires. So we'll see how that affects as they continue to do their running rate here. Lap times, they're still fairly consistent in the low 27s.
This may just be Ray Alfala's race. Bobby Zelensky up the inside. Logan Clampett on the outside of the battle for second, but they are letting that number 2 Ford close right in on these guys. And behind Alfala, Novak, Conti, they still do battle. Looks like Zach Novak to be able to get P5. Conti going to fall back to 6th. He will not give up, and he will go back down to the inside. But the more side-by-side for second we see, the further away Andrew Fayash is going to get, and the closer Ray Alfala is going to close up in. Finally, Logan Clampett clear for P2. He can set his sights on the race lead at 18 to go.
And Logan Clampett had a bobble in that race car off corner number 2 a couple laps ago. It let Zelensky get to the inside, but he could not make the move. And as we saw, it was side by side for a few laps. Fayash was extending the lead a little bit, and Ray Alfala was closing in on those 2. And now it's a 4-car train, and you can add Michael Conti to that list as well. He makes the move on Novak. He moves up to position number 5. Question is now, can Fayash hold on? Logan Clampett wants that win, but you know, if you're driving for your first win in any series, it doesn't matter what it is, you might make that bumper just a wee bit wider in the last 10 laps or so of this race. We've got 16 laps to go. You better believe Fayash is going to try to win this thing.
And the longer we go green, the little bit more stretched out we get, the higher the chances are that this thing goes green to the end. Fayash looks good out front, and kind of a catch-22. Does he want this to stay green? Can he hold off the 44 for another 16 laps this time by, or does he want to maybe take a gamble for the restart? Because Clampett on that last restart did a really good job of staying on the door, more or less, that 77, and that's why he's so close at the moment. The 44, Clampett drove it in hard. It's going to cost him a little bit of speed. Added turn 2 down the back. Now back off to quarter number 3 we go, but this 77 Fayash inside of 0.2 of a second. Clampett all over the back of him, has no reason to feel comfortable keeping a half eye on that rear view mirror every single time around. Every time he completes, though, a mile, he's a mile closer to the end of this thing. Almost 15 to go.
and there will be lap traffic at some point. Brian Blackford, he's running about a second and a half slower than Andrew Fayash and the rest of the front-running group, so he will be at least one car lap traffic. Hopefully he'll just pull to the inside at the dogleg. And we actually have a yellow out on the track. Not quite sure whereabouts that is. It's Joe Letterello, the number 33 car. Not sure what's happened with him, but we have a yellow.
And that answers the question. Andrew Fayash does not get a say, and if we're going to go green to the end or if we will get it at the restart, it will be the latter. Caution flying is out at lap 142. It is problems with the 33 of Joe Letterello running in 17th position, and he squeezed the 39 up just a little bit too much. Michael J. Johnson was very much there, and I don't really think the 33 was trying to get in front of the 39. I don't think that squeezing that high up right before the corner would have made much sense. I just think he was trying to get as wide of an arc as he could, pushed it a little bit too much. 39 was there, hooked him into the outside wall, and somebody else who's involved in that one we really haven't talked about tonight is Josh Berry in that Peak Blue Dav Chevrolet, who had improved to 19th position after starting 25th. He gets involved as well, and just like that, the caution flag is out. Pit road is open. People up front, though, electing to maintain the track position. Drivers 15th on back are pitting.
Yeah, about 15th on back, as you mentioned, coming down into pit road. There was a couple of fakes being thrown at the front, but if you're in the top 5, top 10, I don't think you can sacrifice the track position to come down into pit road and get 4 fresh tires. Even though tires are king, you might get a quick caution, and those tires might not mean a whole lot when you get a half lap or maybe 1 or 2 laps in at the end of this one. Andrew Fayash III continues to lead this thing, and he's been pretty rock solid on the couple of restarts that we have had. Question is, how far do we go on the green flag before the caution or the checkered flag falls to complete this race? Zielinski's been quite quick here this evening, and this last run Ray Alfala has as well, and you can't count out the 5 of Michael Conti. That back straightaway, the dog leg, it's fairly wide, and I'm sure some of these drivers are going to use that in these final couple laps, trying to pick up these final spots.
Nothing changing up front. They've obviously elected that they thought about it, but I think the end call is kind of what we expected, and that is the guys up front want to protect the track position. The people a little bit further back are more keen to throw that strategy card into the mix just one final time. But Cam, this restart is going to come inside of the final 10 laps of this race. If you're the 77 of Fayash, you've done it twice. Can you do it a third time from the top spot? That's going to be the question.
My concern is that if Andrew Fayash holds the field like he has, if there isn't going to be an accordion effect, and perhaps we could see an incident before we even get to the green flag, which we had seen, I believe it was 2 weeks ago. So hopefully we can avoid that and everybody get underway. Everybody, by the way, had really faked to go in. They had really lined up to go in, and once they saw Fayash pull away, Logan pulled back onto the track, and once Zielinski pulled back on the track, there was a huge accordion to try to get back out onto the track. It was actually a fairly interesting sight to see, but you know what? An even more interesting sight to see will be what happens when there's 10 to go here, when they take the green flag one more time, hopefully to finish out this race. So Andrew Fayash, well, it's going to be his 3rd time restarting on the inside in that P1 position. We'll see how he can do on his 4th restart.
44, going to get another opportunity. Topside things do get mixed up, though, back on road 2. Last time we went green, it was Chris Oberlin there in 3rd. He fell to 11th on that last green flag run. So replacing him, Bobby Zielinski in 3rd. Real Fallon now in the number 4 spot. You've got Michael Conti, Zach Novak making up 5 and 6. Duval Luz, Vincent, and Sturgis inside of the top 10. And we're going to make the math easy on everybody. Going to be 10 laps to go from Phoenix International Raceway this time by. And we will see if it'll be Fayash and Clampett duking it out amongst the two of them, or can somebody sneak up from row 2 or further on back and try to steal this thing. Fayash going to get on the gas. It's a good jump. Green flag in the air. 10 laps to go from Phoenix, and he loses speed. 3 wide to corner number 1 we go on the inside. Bobby Zielinski, contact with Clampett. He will spin in corner number 2. Caution flag is out.
And they're spinning behind him as well. I see Shearburn backing up across the racetrack right into the 39 of Michael Johnson, the 71 of Mitchell Hunt will get some damage to it. Not sure where the brake pedal was on that car coming back out across the racetrack, but nevertheless, caution flag will fly, and we have a lot of tore up race cars. And guess what? I think we're going to have one more restart.
And what happened with Andrew Fayash? Went off into the corner, and I don't know if he ran out of gas or something, but that car just slowed down way too early. And the 83 machine was behind him, kind of made a last-second dive to the inside of the racetrack, and it put him at a terrible angle. Bobby Zalenski tried to get her slowed down, just caught Clampett in the left quarter panel. The 44 did about as good of a job as you could expect out of anybody, but got tapped by the 83 again in the left front on the way by, and it upset the car too much. He spun, Luzo was spinning at the same time, and it was a mess from there on through. Talking about the 35 machine, who slid back up the track. Chris Shearburn gets absolutely destroyed as a consequence of not holding the brake down, and 35 machine looks like 39 rather came in there, tore him up pretty good, and just like that, the big one strikes at Phoenix inside of 10 laps to go, and Bobby Zalenski somehow ends up as our race leader.
Yeah, that was a pretty wild one, especially with the car running right up the track. Didn't even look like there was really an attempt. There's no brake smoke coming from the car at all on the way up. So that's unfortunate. Michael J. Johnson was, I believe, the innocent victim there. He'd figured he had been clear of that one, but either way, we'll see here. Bobby Zalenski, 34-lap-old tires compared to Andrew Fash's 40-lap-old tires, and don't count out Ray Alfella and Michael Conti. Now, Conti, you might have noticed in the back when we got underway, he was slipping and sliding all over the place. I think he'd spun it, and he managed to save it, which was actually fairly impressive, and everyone else behind him managed to not really bottle themselves up. They really actually got away fairly well. It's just far delayed than they would have preferred. So we'll see. We're at that point where everyone can slip their tires, and that is going to add even more drama and even more pressure to these guys. Obviously, the highest of pressure, you're looking for a win in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series. Don't spin the tires, get through your gears, and get this thing underway. We're going to have not that many laps to go.
This is basically going to be the final restart of this race. Once we get to the point of 5 laps to go or less, then this race is going to end if we do get a caution flag. And typically, when you restart with all 5 laps left of that window left, you're not going to make it through all of them. And if there's any consolation, as there's a little bit less cars on the track now, so maybe the likelihood of that goes up just a little bit. But Bobby Zalenski, kind of an interesting situation that the 83 finds himself in. Got into Logan Clampett. I don't think that it's really much more than a racing incident. He had to dive out of the way for a car that basically brake checked him in front of him. I know that's not what Fayash was doing on purpose, but the 83 had to get out of the way, trying to woe her up, and Clampett wrong place at the wrong time. And now you have to wonder, is Zalenski basically in the catbird seat? Because obviously you want to start up front, Tim, but if Fayash and Alfalla battle for just a little bit, I feel like Zalenski should be able to pull on both of them.
Keep in mind as we come to green, top 2 have never won in this series before. The next 5 have, so they're going to be looking for a great finish. The 5 did not go on that last restart as well. He starts outside of row number 2, but you have 2 very hungry drivers looking for their first win in this series. Andrew Fayash knows these wins and these opportunities do not come along very often. Bobby Zalenski, rookie in this series, he wants to win too. This is going to get exciting. Strap in. We're about to go green.
And what we can promise you on this one, and it is going to be for the final time tonight, we're going to get a green flag from Phoenix International Raceway. Do we get green all the way? Bobby Zalenski checks out. Green flag in the air. 5 laps to go from PIR. And he's going to get turned for P2. Fayash into the wall, and caution flag is right back out. Big junk.
Big junked indeed, and that is not what Andrew Fayash would have wanted at all. Michael Conti did get underway fairly well. They were already looking 3 wide in the back. That's where my eyes were. I was surprised to see Fayash getting turned around, but Conti, he just really pushed himself there, and I think for Andrew Fayash, that has got to be heartbreak. Even if he didn't get the win here, he was still shaping up to have probably his best finish of the season so far, and yet he is now cycled way back, and that, of course, when the second place car spins out in front of the field heading into 1 with only a couple laps to go, it turned into a very, very big junk indeed.
Yeah, I didn't see a lane there in the middle for the 5 to go for. I mean, it's going to be the last restart of this race. You know you got to do something. And he did get a little bit of a hit from behind. Duval was kind of forcing him down off into the corner, but I'm not sure what the end objective was in that one. And not only does the 77 get turned, but Michael Conti wrecks his own number 5 peak entry and basically ruins his night, and it takes a lot of other drivers out. It just nothing positive to take away from that one. It's hard racing at the end. Absolutely understand that. But you hate to see cars junked, and it was a great run for both of those guys, and would have been a feel-good finish for Fast, even if he wasn't able to lock that thing up and get the win, even to get a second or third place finish, and you hate to see that.
Yeah, you guys mentioned it. Looking at the replay, he had the 42, did Michael Conti, to his back bumper. Maybe he's thinking, okay, the 42 is going to push me into the corner. I got to make some sort of move on the 77 to not push him into the corner, and then the hole tightens up. And as you mentioned, it didn't really look like there was a hole there. It's tough. They're going for the win at the end of the race. You've got the 77 going for his first win. You got Michael Conti, who left his team at the beginning of the year, went off with a new team, which is pretty much him and Brandon Hastings and a couple of helpers, and they were looking for a good run to really cement the season that they've had so far, sitting 12th in the point standings. They both had something to run for, but at the end of the day, it looks like both of them are going to be for naught. And Bobby Zalinski is going to come out of this and can keep the car underneath him for the next lap and a half or so. He's going to come back and win his first NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series win and be the third rookie to win this season. And oh, by the way, Clampett had some bad luck. Luza's going to sit in position number 3 at the end of this one. He should be able to get up there and gain a couple of points. Zalinski was third coming in the point standings. Ray Alfala was 4th. He's going to finish in position number 2. It could very well be a big night for some of those guys running up in front. For Logan Clampett, who scored in position number 18, he had a little bit of a cushion going into the top 8 coming into this race, but he might have some work to do in the next couple of races as we get closer to the halfway point before we hit that chase.
The unfortunate statistic for Andrew Fayash is he started 34th. He was running in second, and it looks like he's going to come home in 34th when it's all said and done. But at the end of the night, Logan Clampett, championship leader, could end up as low as maybe 4th in the championship. But again, if this comes down to 5 or 6 points late in the season, if you're a Michael Conti, talking about, again, how you get into this chase, it's all new for 2017. Once those top 8 go to the first round of the championship, a win will get you into Homestead, but not right now. And if any of those guys that involved in that last accident there missed that championship cutoff by 5 or 6 points, I'm sure they would have much liked to come back to tonight, and instead of pushing that little, and it's hard to tell a race car driver to not go for the win. You don't want to just sit there and be happy with 4th, but if it comes down to it, and a 30th place finish doesn't get you in, but if you had taken that 4th place result and not forced the issue a little bit too much, that's going to be something that someone's going to kick themselves over for quite some time. And again, that's something new that we really haven't had to experience yet under this all-new championship format. But for Bobby Zalinski, he is not going to complain at all. The number 83 Ford going to come in quarter number 4. 4th race of 5 this season that a rookie gets the win. It is the first on his career. Bobby Zalinski, your winner from Phoenix International Raceway.
Already the champ putting his door into the passenger side door of Bobby Zalinski, that Ford Fusion crossing the line. What a good run from him. He had worked through it, worked through the different strategies, started in 6th, comes home in 1st. Rest of the field now going on either side. Dylan Duval looking to give him a little bit of a tap. Chris Overland looking to say hello to Marcus Richardson, giving him a tap. Pretty much the entirety of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series field coming in, at least saying hi and congratulations to him one way or another. That 83, I don't think it's the way he would have liked to have gotten his victory, but at the same time, it's a victory. There's no way you wouldn't want it. So either way, congratulations to Bobby Zalinski. This 2016 Pro Drivers field, my goodness, they are quick, and these guys are arriving on the scene faster than I think we could have anticipated. And now he is going to go do some victory donuts in the front stands of the Phoenix International Raceway for the crowd.
The one thing that we talked about before we went racing at Daytona on our 2017 NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series preview show here on RaceSpot is just how big of a factor was Luza going to be. Dominated in the Pro Series. What was that step going to be like coming up to this top level. And again, something I noted earlier tonight was Bobby Zalenski had a fantastic 2016-17 Pro Series campaign. A lot of that overshadowed, though, by just how historic Luza's run was. And Bobby Zalenski has been there week in and week out. And to say that 3 of the 4 race winners and 4 of the 5 races have been won by rookies in this season is no doubt a record for this championship, and just tells you how competitive this series will be, not only this year, but how competitive this continuing new class of drivers will be deep into the future, coming in through that NASCAR iRacing Pro Series. And no seat is safe. I know it's way too early to be talking about trying to hang on to your peak seat for next year, but these pro guys are not messing around.
Indeed, they're not. Look at Derek Bordeaux, who won at Daytona. He had a top 12 finish tonight, 5th in points coming in. That's going to help him. You mentioned it's not just Bobby Zalenski, it's not just Ryan Luza. You've got a lot of strong competitors here, and I think this might be the strongest pro field that we've seen coming into a NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series season, at least in the first couple of races in this season, that has really made a mark and has really made an impact on this series. Can't wait to see what happens in these next 10 races or so. Could one of these drivers end up becoming a champion before this is all said and done?
I think added tonight, Luza, courtesy of a P3 finish, is going to end up on top of the championship standings. Bobby Zalenski may be P2. The top 2 in the Pro Series may be just 1-2 in this NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series through 5 races. Let's take this opportunity to take a look at tonight's full race results from Phoenix for round number 5. Bobby Zalenski, a race winner, along with Ray Alfala and Ryan Luza, your top 3. Dylan Duvall, Zach Novak, the top 5. We will chat with them in a moment. PJ Sturgis, Chris Overland, Corey Vincent, Marcus Richardson, and Matt Busa, your top 10.
Yeah, Brian Schoenberg from 24th to 11th. Derek Bordeaux all day. He was in the wars. He comes home in 12th position. Kyle Puntz 32nd to 13th. Blake Reynolds, he comes home in 14th. Adam Gilliland 38th to 15th. Brad Davies, he finishes in 16th. Chandler Kryzak, he will finish in the 17th position. Logan Clampett, oh, what could have been? He'll come home in 18th. And Timmy Hill in 19th. And Casey Tucker rounds out your top 20.
3 wide Daly coming home in position number 21. Byron Daly brings that 06 car home just outside the top 20. Trey Edson went for a spin in the first caution. He comes home in 22nd. Brandon Schmidt 23rd. Tyler Hill 24th. And David Rattler completes your top 25 with Phil Diaz, Brian Blackford. Christian Chalner, who ran strong early in the race, is going to come home in 28th. 29th is Jake Sturgis, and 30th is Kenny Humpy.
3 more drivers wrap it up at a lead lap. Michael Conti, who is up front battling for the race win, comes home 31st. Nolan Scott, 32nd. 33rd, Ryan Lowe. And Andrew Fayash ends up with a plus-minus of nothing. 34th is where he ends up, final car on the lead lap. Nicholas Johnson comes home about 3 laps down in 35th position. Everybody from this point on, though, behind the wall when it was all said and done. Mitchell Hunt, Chris Sherbert, Michael J. Johnson, Josh Berry, Joe Lottarello inside of the top 40 with the Gottinger, Cody Bias, and Alan Bowes rounding out your field here tonight from Phoenix. We will take a quick opportunity to step aside, and we will be right back from Avondale, Arizona to talk to your top finishers. Bobby Zalenski, his first career NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series win. We'll talk with him in Victory Lane when we return.
Hey guys, Christopher Bell here. As you guys know, iRacing is coming out with dirt, and it's been a long time coming. So I'm here today to kind of show you around the sprint cars and hopefully give you some insight for whenever you first drive it. So here we are at Williams Grove, gonna go out and make a couple laps in the 410 wing sprint car. I'm on default setup with a gear change to a 522. As we roll out of the pits, you guys might notice that the car wants to pull left and you have to hold the steering wheel right to go straight. That's normal for a sprint car because you have so much stagger, it's always trying to turn the car left. Once you get up to speed, that goes away. Going down the straightaways, Williams Grove has really long straightaways and really tight corners. The big wings on the sprint cars, it always wants to pull you left into the corner, so it doesn't take much steering wheel input to get the car into the corner. A big key for the wing sprint cars is that they always like to go straight. They don't like to be too sideways. So the less steering wheel input you can have and the straighter you can keep the car, the faster you'll go. As the track slickens off, you'll be able to play with the setup to get the car driving even straighter yet. And that's a couple laps around Williams Grove. So here we are at Eldora Speedway. I'm on baseline setup with a gear change to a 511. As we roll out at Eldora Speedway, one thing that you'll notice is that the corners are really sweeping and it's almost a circular shape. The big thing about Eldora is just keeping that steering wheel straight. The straighter you keep the wheel and the less steering input that you give the car, the faster you'll go. The fast line around Eldora will be right around the inside wall in the corners, and then with a big arc towards the outside walls down the straightaways. Then once the track slicks off, you'll be able to follow the groove up towards the outside wall, where the famous Eldora High Line comes into play. So now we're at Volusia Speedway Park with the 410 Wing Sprint Car. I'm on baseline setup with a 511 gear, the same as what we ran at Eldora. Whenever you roll out on the racetrack, you'll notice that Volusia is similar to Eldora. They have long sweeping corners and it's kind of circular in shape. At Volusia, whenever the track is fast, you'll want to be right down against the concrete wall in the corners with a nice big arc down the straightaway. Whenever the track starts to slicken up, you'll be able to follow the groove up higher and higher. Whenever you get into turns 3 and 4 though, the groove might get up onto the shelf, which is the flatter section of the racetrack. And then it becomes very difficult to exit turn 4 without getting into the wall. And that's just one of the characteristics of Volusia Speedway Park. Hope you guys have fun.
Welcome back live to the Phoenix International Raceway as RaceSpotTV's continuing coverage of the 2017 NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing continues now through 5 races complete. Already the 1/3 marker point in this season. We've been talking about first-time winners a lot this season. It started with Derek Bordeaux in Daytona, followed it up by Ryan Luza in Las Vegas. We thought maybe the series veterans were going to start taking things back over as a sign of things to come with Alan Bowes getting to win at Texas, but the young guns are back on top. First time NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series winner Bobby Zalenski gets the job done tonight for the Phoenix International Raceway. We go trackside with the driver of the number 83. Bobby, congratulations on that one. An unconventional final 50 laps, but when the war came to a close, that 83 Ford was on top.
Yeah, I don't even know what to say, really. First thing, I'm sorry what happened with Clampett. It's one of those racing deals, and, you know, Faye Ash slowed up super fast, and I just dove to the bottom to try to miss him, and didn't have the best entry, and moved up just a little, and I got clamped. But, you know, it's one of those racing deals, but I'm just super excited we got a win at Phoenix already. I didn't think it would come here. I do like this track a lot, and we just survived and made a good pit call with the 2 tires on the, well, I don't know, there's a bunch of cautions there, but whatever one we pitted last, we made a good call there, and we were able to maneuver, and man, I can't believe I won. This is crazy.
We know that the car was good all night. You guys started up front, hung out up there, and there were points in this race where we thought that it was going to be dictated on strategy, and I guess in part the end of this race was shaped by strategy because both of those first 2 yellows came right towards the end of a cycle green flag pit service, and there were a couple of guys who stayed out or short pitted that ended up being the beneficiary of that. You guys, though, just kind of not taking that route because you had a car to kind of hang out with everybody else. When that caution flag comes out with about 50 or so laps to go, what were you thinking? And obviously, you guys executed it well to get yourself back up to the front, but staying close, what'd you kind of learn over those first 100 and some odd laps and then put that to use?
Yeah, we did make a couple adjustments to tighten up. We were getting really loose on exit and just struggled with some drive off. But yeah, it really sucks when, you know, a caution comes out right in the middle of pit cycle, and, you know, you're on the right strategy, you think, and then a caution comes out, messes it up, and then kind of get mired in the middle of the pack, which is just hectic because, you know, it's peak and everyone's so dang close in speed, and then you go to Phoenix where it is really hard to pass, and Especially when the track gets heated up, the outside line works really well. So you just have to be patient, try to be patient, and try to get around certain people. And we were able to get top 10 after like lap 100 or something, and then we went like 10 laps, and that caution came out, and I was just, I gotta take 2 here. Just gotta take a chance. Chris Overland just stayed out and took a chance. He still ended up 7, so that was cool. But yeah, I mean, it's so hectic with these pit cycles and cautions. You just gotta hope you're picking the right one. And you know, we got bit by it twice, but we ended up in victory lane, so it's all right.
It's not like, you know, the end of this race, you get a little bit luck on your side and it never hurts, but it's not like you guys haven't been performing and putting yourself in these positions and you kind of stumbled upon a win. You came into tonight 3rd in the championship, and Clampett didn't get the finish that he wanted, so you might be able to sneak yourself up to P2, getting the points here for taking home the win. But you guys have been up there, averaging finishes inside of the top 10, 2 top 5s in your first 4 starts. I mean, you guys have been good, needed that little bit extra, and it kind of fell together for you. I mean, 5 races now complete, almost a third of the way through the season as a total, but nearly now halfway through the regular season, with the objective in these opening races, obviously making the top 8 to qualify for the chase. You're a rookie in this championship. So is Ryan Luza, who's won 2 races. So is Derek Bordeaux, who's won races. This rookie class is really putting it to some of the staple markers of this series. 5 races now into this. How do you kind of rank how things have been going compared to your expectations, and looking forward, what do you expect?
Yeah, I mean, going into the season, I really didn't know what to expect. I mean, how can you know what it's going to be like going against the best of the best? Didn't really know. I knew I had good pace compared to Ray every time we practiced, so it was just kind of down to racecraft. And yeah, the first 4 races went really well. We got 15th place points there at Daytona, which was fine by me. As long as I don't wreck there, I'm happy. And yeah, we've been able to get 2 top 5s before this. It's gone really well. We're just trying to make that top 8 in the points and make the playoff. And this really helps getting a win, and it's really cool to get a 1-2 with Ray. And I don't know, man, this is really awesome. And about the pro class, yeah, like me and Luza and others from the pro class saying, like, I think we might be able to give these guys a good run for their money. It might be one of the best pro classes, and heck, we've won 4 of the first 5, so I mean, we've already done a pretty good job. And I guess racing against someone like Luza in the Pro Series really helped too, because you know he's top of the food chain.
I think at the moment half of those top 8 spots are guys from the pro class, if not at least 3 of them. So to look forward, you get the job done tonight at Phoenix. Next time up, 2 weeks time, I'm going to be at it from the Richmond International Raceway. I know that it's a very different kind of short track from Phoenix, but I know that you guys maybe. Everybody uses the word confidence and maybe a little bit of inspiration. I think that it's more of, validation for how well you guys have been going these first 4 weeks to get the job done tonight. How do you kind of carry that on, be confident with yourself, and go into round 6 looking to do it again?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely helps when you've been performing. You know you can get good results week in, week out just from spending the time on the set. And Richmond, I think we'll take some stuff we learned here, because me personally, I learned a lot about the car and about just how we set it up, and we'll try to take a lot from here and apply it to Richmond. I got wrecked on like lap 20 in the pro race, so I don't really know how I am here or at Richmond. So we'll just do a good amount of practice this next couple of weeks and try to get another good result there. That's all we can do, and hopefully, yeah.
We'll let you take off. You have some celebrating due up, sir. Before we let you do, the sponsors, the shout-outs, and that whole routine, I know you're familiar with it. Who makes it happen for you?
Yeah, for sure. Thanks to my main sponsor, United Western Industries, for helping me like they do, and New Age Metal Finishing. And Virtual Racing School, also in the car, team sponsor. Elwood Designs for painting the car. Did a really good job. I love it. Shout-out to Ryan Keys for spotting and Delonte Ballard up crewing, helping me with just info, and Keys getting me through that mess and all that. And obviously thanks to Slipping Motorsports, last but not least, because it's a great team to be on, and I wouldn't be in the Peak Antifreeze series if it wasn't for them, quite honest. Learned a lot through setups being here, and just being able to go up against Ray day in, day out in practice, and just push myself to get to his level really helps. So yeah, just thanks to all of them. And it's crazy that I won this thing. I didn't think it would come here, but we'll take it, and I'm so happy I won.
Yes, nonetheless, a winner now at iRacing's top level. Bobby, congratulations on the win. Thanks for sticking around and chatting with us. We'll let you take off. We will see you in 2 weeks' time, and if you guys can keep things up, I'm sure we'll talk soon. We'll see you then.
Thanks, Evan.
That is your winner tonight from Phoenix, the third rookie to get a win in the opening 5 races of this championship. Bobby Zelensky is a winner in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series. Somebody who has been there many a time and almost added to a long list of wins is Ray Alfalla, who comes home second tonight with a great run. Trackside with him is Cam.
And I'm here, of course, with Ray Alfalla, 3-time reigning NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series champion. Well, it was a fairly interesting run here today at Phoenix. Ray, why don't you at least take me through the majority of the race before we start getting to that caution-filled third section?
Yeah, well, I'm back to form, back to finishing second, so good to see you guys. Well, first of all, congrats to Bobby. I know him and Chris Overland worked really hard on the setup these past 2 weeks, and so big thanks to them and everybody on Slip Angle. I really had no idea how fast we were going to be because we had no NIS the week prior, where we normally have like NIS the week before we run our peak races, and we have an idea of how fast we are. But this one, we just went in there and we went in there blind as far as just not knowing, and then people will throw out lap times that they're hitting, but they could be true or not. So, but it feels good to get the virtual racing school up there and close to their first official win. But Slip Angle won too, and also 7th for Chris, and I think Kyle got, I believe, 13th, and then Brian got involved in a wreck. But great team day overall.
Yeah, and after those very long green flag runs separated by just a couple of those spins, we started really junking cars up and quite a couple of pretty dramatic accidents. That final time you came in, 42 laps before the end of the race, which seemed like an eternity ago, but there were so many caution laps, I'm sure there wasn't too much green flag run. You only took 2 tires, and that got you pretty close to the front there. But how did that all come about, just taking 2 rather than 4?
Yeah, I mean, we saw some guys stay out, with a few laps on their tires and it not be so bad. And I think others were taking 2 throughout the race, and it wasn't nearly as bad as other tracks, it being a short track. And also, I knew that it was my best shot to get out of pit road first of the people that pitted, and I think it was the right call. I messed up on restart, entering turn 1. Shortly after that, I went in there too deep and kind of just got tight, and that's when Bobby went by. And so I mean, I don't know if that cost me the race necessarily, because you have no idea what the chain of events would have been like had I not done that. But it's probably the only really big mistake I made all race. But overall, I mean, it's just really cool when when a teammate wins. If you can't win it, obviously it's the best thing is for a teammate to win it. And Bobby's new to the series. I think it's his 5th career start. I saw a lot of potential in him last year, and I think he's going to be one of the front runners in the series for years to come.
Yeah, and just speaking of potential, this whole pro series class and even the people who are contingent, they have to qualify on times. I mean, all of these drivers, they're really kind of taking it to you veterans, and it's been kind of an interesting dynamic here. It seems every week we get some of these pro drivers in here, and they are just lightning quick. So I can only imagine as the weeks go on by, that is only going to get tighter and tighter. We're going to Richmond in a couple weeks' time. Richmond, we're going to knock a quarter mile off of the actual track distance, and Richmond International Raceway will be coming up. We're going to an even shorter track. Hopefully you can continue this momentum going on there.
Yeah, we hope so. The good thing is it's a very similar track to Phoenix, so I'm pretty sure everybody will kind of throw their Phoenix setup at Richmond and see what happens. We'll be running in the late afternoon, evening setting, so the track will have quite a bit more grip than Phoenix had today. But it'll be similar, and good thing is we'll have NIS to run this week and preparation for that race. So, you know, I'm looking forward to it, and you know, it just feels good to run, you know, near the front and contend like that when you really had no idea. I mean, I had no idea if I was going to run, you know, top 5 or 20th going into the race.
Well, either way, hopefully in a couple weeks' time, maybe we'll get to interview Evan, and we can stop meeting up like this in the second position. But either way, Ray, thanks very much for hopping into this. Anybody you'd like to give a very quick shout out to before we cut you loose?
Yeah, thanks to Sal Frasetto for spotting, and Liam Brotherton, he was calling out lap times. He was big help. And, you know, everybody on Slip Angle, again, thanks for all the help, especially, you know, Bobby and Chris. They worked really hard and made a lot of good adjustments to the setup over this week. And, you know, iRacing, NASCAR, and then RaceSpot for the cool broadcast. I can't wait to watch it. It's always really great quality and good camera work and all that. So, you know, looking forward to it, and we'll see you all at Richmond in a couple weeks.
Well, that's Ray Alfala. Thanks very much for giving us some of your time. 3-time NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series champion. And the number 2 Ford, we are going to go back to 1 position down to the number 1 car of Ryan Michael Luza. He's going to be with Tim Terry for 3rd position.
And he's going to come out of this with the point lead going into Richmond in a couple of weeks' time. And 3rd place finish this evening for Ryan Luza. Ryan, let's talk about this race. A little bit of a pit strategy change with about 50 laps to go. Had you coming from outside the top 10, how hard was it to try to tiptoe your way through with all those cautions?
Oh, it was real tough. Phoenix is a big-time track position track, and I want to say Boost had the fastest car. Conti looked really good there, so just basically whoever was out front, you know, you couldn't really pass them. So being in the back made it really, really tough. Just lucky, really, to miss the wrecks and get the spots we could with 4 tires. And just, I mean, like I said, real happy to come home with the top 3 after all the mayhem late in the race.
And it seemed like everything happened around you. The spin with Kenny Humpy was right around that 10th to 15th place position. How hard was it to try to dodge all that and possibly think, hey, we could get some green flag laps in here, but this might be what we have for the rest of the race. We might see 2 or 3 lap stints.
Yeah, kind of realized that at 40 to go whenever the caution started flying. Really was hoping for a longer green flag run with 4 tires. But like I said, just really fortunate to miss those wrecks. I got hit a few times. The one with Fayash was really crazy, getting hit and just going onto the apron, luckily, for nobody to hit us. So just, I mean, really crazy. Next time we'll probably be taking 2 tires to keep the track position and just play it safe. You know, just got to keep finishing consistent for the top 8 in points. But luckily we took over the points lead, so that's, you know, nice just to have a bit of a cushion going in. Just build the cushion over 8th and, you know, make some room for mistakes.
You mentioned that cushion. Back to 9th place right now is 56 points. So you gained on that coming in. You also gained the point lead after 5 races in this series. Did you anticipate you'd be sitting here with the point lead, 2 wins, 3 top 5s? Did you expect to have more wins? Did you expect to have a better season, a bigger cushion? What is your analyst so far on these first 5 races?
Really successful. The team took home the first 4 races, and congrats to Bobby on his win. Greatly earned from him. We had a great Pro Series campaign. Cool to see the pros coming through. But I mean, it's a great start. Leading points, can't ask for anything else. 2 wins. You know, hopefully we can grab a few more. But if not, you know, the only thing that matters right now is staying in the top 8. You know, for the playoffs. So that's going to be a lot more stressful once we get to there. I'm sure we're going to start testing for those tracks right about now. So really cool dynamic put on the season with this playoff format. Just got to prepare, stay in the top 8, and, you know, get lucky there at the end too. You know, luck and skill.
We got a little ways to go before we go into Richmond International Raceway, but you're a short track guy. You've seen a lot of success. The championship at Pensacola. Is this a Ryan Luza racetrack that you can go in and get your 3rd win of the season?
I hope so. I consider Richmond my best track. So, you know, we'll see. Got to qualify well, got to race well, got to execute, and, you know, pull the right strategy. So we're definitely going to prepare and do our work, you know, in the next 2 weeks. So, hope so. I mean, we'll try.
Who makes it happen on this one team?
Everybody at SimWorks and Dead Zone. Thanks to Dustin Lingert for all the hard work. I didn't do too much this week. Kind of took him for granted. So thanks to Dustin and Alan Bowes for doing the brunt of the testing this week. I'll try to pay him back for Phoenix. And thanks to Racer Boost Graphic Solutions for coming on board. Hero Cards websites, a lot of real races do this. So you need any of that, he's definitely your man. And Fast Track Sims, a bunch of sim racing equipment, triple monitor stands, basically anything you can think of. So thanks to them for coming on board. Thanks, Tim, and you guys for broadcasting. Yes, sir.
That's Ryan Luza, P3, and the point lead heading in to Richmond International Raceway coming up in a couple of weeks' time. And Cam, I believe you've caught up with our fourth place finisher. He's heading up and down night, Dylan Duval in the 42.
Yes, absolutely. The number 42 car, the driver out of Halifax, Nova Scotia. Dylan, it's been a fairly good day. It's been a rough season so far in the Peak Antifreeze series. Today, though, a good day here at Phoenix.
Yeah, it's been a rough start for sure. Had a few good runs and just couldn't finish out with a decent finish. It was lucky for it to be the other way and not run so well and then end up having a good finish towards the end. It was definitely nice to change that around for the first time this year.
Yeah, we started with a couple of really long green flag stretches. It was almost looking like we were going to have a repeat of last year without a single caution, but a couple of bumps and bruises, a couple of cars getting looped around, and we ended up having a couple of issues. But throughout all those green flag stints, we were seeing a lot of different strategies starting to form. Did you guys have a long green flag plan, or did you guys just kind of roll with it?
To be honest, we were I was just winging it at that point. I got a lot of damage at the beginning of the race. I drove into the wall. I thought someone was going to hit me, and I ended up driving myself into the wall, just trying to give too much room, and pretty much destroyed the right side of my car. And then a few laps later, I got tagged by the 47, and the car was really, really struggling. After I got the damage, I was running between 20th and 30th. It wasn't going very well, and then I saw the opportunity there towards the end to try to leapfrog and just stay out, and got really lucky with the timing of that caution and ended up getting to leapfrog the field and actually get myself into position after getting the damage fixed.
Yeah, and those last couple of restarts, I mean, there were a couple that were just very mundane spins in the back of the field, and then there were a couple where right in the front of the field, you really had to drive your way around quite a couple of these accidents. Just take me through these repeated starts here. It's got to be a little nerve-wracking. I know you're a veteran of this series, but just a little nerve-wracking.
Yeah, for sure. I actually was pretty upset that we had a run there. I think it was like 3 cautions before the end where I ended up getting about a second on the guys behind me. I think I was like 6th or 7th at that point, and I didn't really want to see those last few cautions because I was just gonna be happy with that. With the way the season's gone, a top 10 would have been great, and then ended up somehow making it through those wrecks. I'm still not really sure how because it was definitely a mess, but somehow made it through and ended up 4th. And like I said, it's just a great result for the way the season started for me.
Well, short track's working well, at least here today at Phoenix. We're going to go to Richmond, dropping a quarter mile off of the track distance. You guys planning to have a good package there at Richmond?
I sure hope so. We ran pretty well there last year. I believe Kenny won. I ended up 6th, and Cody was right around me somewhere. And Richmond is one of my favorite tracks, so definitely look forward to getting there and seeing everyone move around. And that was one of my favorite races last year to race, just how much we moved around. So definitely looking forward to that.
All right, and we'll give you a quick moment to give a shout out to any of your sponsors, anybody you'd like to give a shout out to before we let you go from the RaceSpotTV booth.
Yeah, I definitely got to thank Simcraft for coming on board with all the team cars this year. Definitely great to have them on board, and they're doing a lot with us, so that's great. Got to thank DIY Sim, Infinite Creative Solutions, Tim's Corner Motorsports, the team, Cody, and Justin for all the work they put in every week to make us fast. It's unbelievable the amount of work they put in, and can't thank everyone enough. And Birch for spotting. He did a good job tonight. We called an audible there towards the end and ended up with a good finish out of it. So just got to thank all of those guys. Like, without them, and none of this would be possible.
Oh, absolutely. So, well, Dylan, thanks very much for hopping in the booth with us, and we'll wish you the best of luck at Richmond.
Thanks, man.
All right, and standing by with Tim Terry, I believe he is caught up with the number 15 car of Zach Novak.
Yeah, Zach Novak had a pretty interesting night coming from position number 21 on the grid. And Zach, a couple of pit moves put you up front in the middle of the race, and then you had to claw your way back up to position number 5. Let's talk about a night at Phoenix.
Oh, man. It started off with a pretty decent Q effort, qualified 21st. But we were the first to qualify in provisional, so that was nice. It gave us a little cushion on everybody else that we were having to out-qualify. So it was really hard to make up track position to start, and we just kind of stuck with it. Keegan Leahy brought up a great idea to pit a little bit early. It worked out for us. We were up to second or third at when the caution came out, so that was perfect timing for us. And then from then on, I knew we had a good enough car to stay up in the top 5 or 6. So the pit call really got us out front, and that's really props to Keegan Leahy and the whole Lockdown Racing crew for giving me the car to stay up front and making sure that I can compete in these races.
How tricky was it on the pit strategy the first couple of stints, and then going into the final stint where you had a couple of cautions and then a little spurt of a green flag run and a couple of cautions, Dan? How hard was it to call the audibles here tonight?
Oh, it was difficult. I mean, once we got out front after the first green flag stop, got caught on the other side of it, I guess. We ended up 13th after the second green flag stop. Forced us to come from the back a little bit. But we ended up taking 2 tires. That got us a few spots, and then from then on, didn't hit pit road from there. It was perfect strategy call by my crew chief, Joe Lawrence, and just made sure we stayed out front once we got there. And the 2 tires really helped. But, the car was good enough to stay up there anyway, so.
You mentioned that you are one of those drivers that occupies a pro license. You have to qualify your way in each week. That's nerve-wracking as it is, but you're sitting right now in chase contention after tonight. You move up to 7th in the point standings. Does that magnify your qualifying lap any more than it would than, let's say, at Daytona when we're starting the season out?
Oh, man. Qualifying's super important. I'm more nervous for qualifying than the race, honestly. It's all about just getting the lap right. Of course, at Daytona, you can't really judge your performance as much as, you know, the wind and other things that factor into it. But every single race this season, I've been completely, like, terrified for qualifying. And Vegas, I almost missed it. So I'm glad to have qualified into every race. We haven't qualified extremely well, but the race sets are perfect. So qualify a little bit worse if you're going to be able to drive to the field like we have been all season.
We go from Phoenix, a 1-mile racetrack, to the 3/4-mile Richmond International Raceway. Once you get through and past qualifying, is Richmond a racetrack we could see your second top 5 of the season and possibly get this thing into victory lane? We've had some rookies this season already break through into victory lane. Could you be the next one in line?
I definitely think so. Keegan Leahy threw together an awesome car this week, so I think that can carry over to Richmond. And you know, we were running up front all race. We also had Fayesh up there towards the end. It sucks he had some bad luck. He really needed a good run, so sucks for him. But I'm glad that we got a good run here. So if we don't have great luck at Richmond, got a little bit of a buffer, I guess. So I'm looking forward to Richmond, but I don't know how it's going to play out. It can play out just like the race did here tonight at Phoenix.
And your first opportunity this season to say hello to who's on the side of this race car. And you mentioned a couple of your teammates that work in the background. Who makes it happen to make this 15 fast?
Everybody at Lockdown Racing, man. They let me in right before the season, and they've made sure I'm quick every week. It's a pleasure working with them. Like I said, Keegan Leahy's amazing on these cars. Matt Bontempi does an awesome job. My spotter, Nick Ward, crew chief, Joe Lawrence. Everybody down the list, Brendan Cobbinger, David Rattler, Fayesh again, Victor Bartlett, Marcus Lambert, anybody I'm forgetting. They let me in on this team and do an awesome job every week. I also want to thank Infinite Creative Solutions and Dylan for sponsoring me this season. Wilkinson Enterprises for also coming on board, and lastly, Devin O'Connor Racing. They're all sticking with me for this end-pass season, and we're looking forward to possibly making a run at the Chase.
And there's Zach Novak coming in, position number 5 at Phoenix, but as he mentioned, he is currently 7th in the point standings, and he's got about a 17-point bubble on position number 9 when it comes to the Chase standings. So, Evan, this season has started out 5 races. We've got some different names up there battling for this championship. Yes, Ray Alfala is still up there, but you got Luza, Zielinski, Clampett, albeit Clampett's got a season under his belt. You got Bordeaux, Richardson, Novak, and Chalner just outside the top 8, trying to upset the apple cart. We go past the halfway point after we hit Richmond towards that Chase, and we know Richmond is a short track. It can go one way or the other. We've had 200 laps green at Richmond before. We've had Richmond races that are full of caution flags. I'm excited for our next race because this could be a telltale sign of somebody falling out of that top 8 or somebody moving in to the top 8 and moving a little bit closer to the top of the board. But Luza and Zielinski so far through this season have really impressed. We'll see what they can do in 2 weeks' time at Richmond.
Yeah, talking about swings, Clampett came into tonight +7, and he will lose the top spot in the championship, falls all the way down to 3rd. Now -7. So outside of tonight, your new championship leader, Cam, going to be Ryan Luza, 198 total points. Bobby Zielinski now 2nd in the points. Clampett in 3rd. Those guys going to continue to do battle, and they slowly start to build that cushion that Tim's talking about over 8th. The difference between 1st and 8th is almost 41 points, I think, is what it's going to be added tonight. That's still not surefire with 7 races to go in the regular season, but as that begins to grow, to an extent, it is important who leads that championship to the regular season, but our attention week by week is going to start to trickle down those standings to that cutoff in the top 8.
Yeah, and first off, this Phoenix race was an absolute gem to watch. It was really exciting with those green flags, and of course, you had those shootouts at the end, so that was very exciting. But as we're looking at how this season is taking shape, we're really seeing this attack from all of these new drivers, all these new names that are trying to make their mark on this series. Last season, we had an absolutely titanic battle between Ray Alfala and PJ Sturgis, who, by the way, he ended up sneaking into a P7 there, even though he had been quiet pretty much all day long, so good on him to come in there at the end. But it's just interesting to see how we've gone from these 2 top drivers going at it race after race to now we don't know who's going to come home with a victory. We don't even know who's going to be coming in top 5s. So it's been an exciting 2017 season, and I can't wait for this to keep on trucking.
I think all of those are points that are going to get everybody just that much more excited going forward. With all of that being said, though, Phoenix has now fallen into our rear view mirror. As always, we want to thank you for joining us for this special presentation of RaceSpotTV, streaming live on iRacingLive, Facebook Live, Fans Choice TV, and the Motor Racing Network. For more information about the iRacing World Championship Series, you can go to wcs.iracing.com. On behalf of the entire team behind the scenes, for East Veniballo on the camera, Simon Grossman, Kevin Papey, their team for working on the broadcast CG, Andy Werner on the graphics, and of course, Will Vincent, Hugo Louise, the entire team at RaceSpotTV, and for the crew topside tonight. For Cam Walsh, Tim Terry, and myself, Evan Pasoko, I want to thank you so much for joining us tonight and congratulate for a 3rd time this year, a first-time winner, Bobby Zielinski, notches his first career championship win and leaves tonight 2nd in the championship. We'll see you next Tuesday night right back here for iRacing's NASCAR race site, and of course back in the saddle in 2 weeks' time, May the 9th, from the Richmond International Raceway. It'll be the 6th race of this 2017 NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series, powered by iRacing campaign. That race and every race can be found right here on RaceSpotTV and iRacing Live. Until then, good night.